What is this foolishness?
How many dreams can you shape in a minute, an hour?
The kind of clean you like best.
Lost 3 of my teeth, too. All right, so you lost. Next time you win.
Steamy, hot, hearty, delicious, invigorating.
Folks at home, how you doing tonight? I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. I know we are. And guess what? It's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Shout out to all the moms out there watching and listening right now. Listen, we've got a brand new Ike Live show for you tonight, and it's a good one. Special guest joining us, Cliff Crochet, the one and only Cajun Baby. And in our first segment, man, if you live in the Northeast, you know this guy. I like to call him the best guy I've ever fished against. Honestly, the best angler I've ever competed against that didn't turn into a full-time pro. The one and only Mr. Ed Cowan, the Hammer, joining us tonight on our first segment. Before we start the show, and it's going to be a good one, let me tell you, this show is brought to you by a lot of companies that make it possible. Of course, first one is our presenting sponsor, Mystery Tackle Box, and we will be doing a live unboxing at the end of the show. Also brought to you by Flambeau, the makers of great tackle storage systems. Liquid Mayhem, scent is important. TH Marine, they've got you covered whatever you're in, from a kayak to a Biggie Smalls boat. TH Marine has a product for you. Bash University, what a great time right now with all the quarantining going on. To check it out, go to bashu.tv. Tackle Warehouse, man, you don't have to go to the tackle store. Go online, see what you need. They'll ship it right to you. Torpedo, man, if you fish on a place where electric is the only thing you can use, you've got to check out Torpedo, of course. Of course, it's on the Ike Live boat as well. Hobie Kayaks, Cadillac of Kayaks. Dr. Squatch, right now with everything that's going on, wash your damn hands. And do it with Dr. Squatch. And last but not least, Founders Beer, great sponsored supporter of the show. And the beer of the night, what we're starting with here, I'm excited to try this. And once the show gets underway, I'm going to take a sip. I've been staring at it. I'm very anxious. We're going to be drinking the Mas Agave tonight, but not the regular. This is the brand new grapefruit Mas Agave. I'm going to be drinking it over ice with a little bit of salt. Let's get the show started by introducing a couple of our key players here on the show. Of course, pushing buttons, making things happen, making plays. To my right, the one and only Brian Carpenter. Brian, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing,
I like
Mike?
clapping when nobody else claps.
Here we are.
It's like an empty barn.
Dude, so, yeah, when we get the rest of the guys on, we'll talk about it a little more. But I watched the UFC last night.
Yeah.
They came back, and Rogan was interviewing. He says, forget the fighter's name. Vicente Luque, nobody out there, you know, to nobody in the crowd.
To nobody.
Yeah.
So they had a UFC fight.
Yeah.
No fans.
No fans.
Wow.
It was pretty wild, man. You could hear the leather slapping.
Wow.
Yeah, they were
All right.
they were getting after
I
it.
just got a text from Riz. Riz says, somebody has the show on in the background, creating an echo. I don't think I do.
Motherfucker.
If someone has the show on in the background, I don't know. Who would that be? A ghost? Ghost. Hello. Hi.
Let me get after this.
Go. All right. While we're working on this little technical glitch.
As always,
let me real quick give you a couple little updates. Of course, the Ike Foundation virtual bass tournament ended last week. Huge success. Over 600 anglers signing up, supporting it. We raised over $10,000 for kids affected by COVID-19. So shout out to everyone that participated in that event. Thank you. Big news, FLW, MLF, and BASS all announcing new schedules. The updated schedules. We're going to be talking a little bit about that later in the show. Here's the other thing. Listen to me. If you want to learn a little bit tonight about the history of fishing and some of these techniques, tune in a little bit. We got Mr. Ed Cowan on. It's going to be a real good one. And then we're catching up with Cliff Crochet in the second segment. Cliff's had a lot going on in his life surrounded by this pandemic. So we're going to be talking to Cliff, catching up with him. And I know he's excited to get back on the water here in just a little bit. Before we get underway, we always do this every show, and I want to start by thanking our military, men and women, active military and veterans. Thank you for what you do. It's a crazy world. Also want to thank our policemen, our firemen, our EMT, first responders, doctors out there, medical professionals. Thank you for what you do, especially during this time. It's nuts. We're going to be doing a lot of interaction in this show tonight. And if you have questions or comments, please be sure to hit us up on the IM board right there next to your screen. We have the one and only Rizzo is going to be doing our comments tonight on the IMs. Also, if you're watching over on Facebook at Ike Live Show, be sure to comment there as well. I'm going to be checking that out periodically throughout the show. And listen to me. This is a big part of it right here. If you are watching on Facebook, like and share the feed. If you like and share the feed, we're going to throw you into an entry, a contest to win this. We're going to pick one name out randomly at the end of the show, and you could win the world famous, let me call it world famous, Ike Live gift bag, loaded with sponsor products. There's so many in there, things like 20 pounds. Also, we're going to be doing a trivia question a little bit later in the show, and we're going to give away another one of these bags. Included in that bag will be a mystery tackle box that we're opening up tonight. It's going to be a good one. Let me remind you, too, that all the sponsors of the show that I ran down in the intro segment, if you use the promo code Ike Live, we're going to give you discounts on everything on there. So it pays to be a watcher and viewer of Ike Live, doesn't it, Brian the Carpenter?
That is correct, Mike.
Okay. Let's introduce the rest of the cast here tonight. And again, let me before I do that, let me say that this is a little strange because in the studio tonight, it's just me and Brian the Carpenter, and we are social distancing. Brian's 10 to 12 feet away from me over on the producer side over there where all the bums stay over there.
Right.
But the rest of the studio is empty, and it does feel a little strange. It feels a little weird. But the next best thing to have our crew here is via Zoom, and we're going to be Zooming them in tonight along with our guests, our key guest tonight. So let me start. We've got the one and only my co-host, probably the most important thing of the entire show because he's sane, the one and only Pete Glusick. Pete, how you doing tonight?
Oh, shit.
Oh.
And action.
There he goes. Pete, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. It's good to be back on the show so soon.
Man, I'm telling you. How are things shaking in the Glusick household?
Oh, we're doing good. We had a bit of a health scare, and we came through it in flying colors. Dad had a blockage in one of his arteries, and once they opened up, it was so significant that once they opened up those types of procedures, they put Dad at the front of the line to get that done.
Wow.
And so we went down to Cooper and in Camden, New Jersey, and it's amazing the technology that's available to us today. They had them in. They put a stent in successfully to alleviate that blockage and sent him home 2 hours later. And Dad's recovering nicely.
Wow.
At home right now, so we're tickled to death. I think my dad has like 19 lives.
It's amazing. It's amazing that the medical profession has that stuff dialed so much now, isn't it? Like major blockage, like boom, boom, stent out, home. It's crazy.
I mean, that stuff. It used to be like open heart operation, 6 months recovery. It's crazy how good they are with it now, and thankfully so. And great experience at the hospital. All the nurses, coming in, dealing with all the virus stuff. Right, you thanked them earlier. I want to thank them again. It was really an amazing experience, and like I said, Dad's recovering nicely. I mean, he was walking that same day. It's just crazy what's available right now.
Amazing.
Really amazing stuff.
It's amazing. Well, we're glad he's doing good, Pete. We'll be thinking about him. Handling IMs tonight, we've got Rich, a.k.a. Rizzo, a.k.a. Riz, joining us. Riz, what's going on tonight?
Happy to be here again and so soon, as always. Psyched for a great show. The message board is lighting me up right now.
Yes. I like it. We got comments coming through already, and we haven't even started the show. That's great.
Yeah, we got.
And Dave's already got himself kicked off of Zoom.
Right. It must have been the fire in the back. The heat.
There he is.
Oh, he's back. The heat kicked him off Zoom. All right. Before we get to Dave, Riz, real quick. I don't know if I should announce this publicly, but you had a little boating snafu the other day.
Yeah.
Bent prop shaft. How are we on the road to recovery with your outboard?
So basically, the good news is I have insurance on my boat.
Woo!
I tried all day on Friday to get a hold of my insurance company. Well, I say all day, but it was from 11:30 or so on. Once I sorted things out and found out that I was still covered, haven't gotten a hold of anybody from my insurance company yet, but we'll be beating the door down again on Monday, and hopefully get the show on the road to get that new lower unit put on there, because the lower unit is smoked. So
smoked. Then you hit
just one of those things, man. I was
there goes Dave again.
I wasn't going fast or nothing. I was just going from one spot to another down on the Chesapeake, not going far. And I was in the middle of the back channel, which we run all the time.
Yeah.
And hit something hard that I guess was on the bottom, but not quite reaching the surface on a low tide.
Right.
And the prop shaft couldn't handle it. So
speaking of couldn't handle it, our very own stormtrooper left his phone too close to his bonfire and it overheated.
Oh,
so
wow.
He's allowing his phone to cool down so he can turn back into the show.
Only Dave. Only Dave. All right, Riz, what I wanted to tell you about the prop shaft is don't worry about it. That's part of it.
Freaking idiot.
I honestly, last season, I think I went through close to 10.
What?
Yeah, I smoked 10 prop shafts last year. This year, I think I'm only one in 3 turns. I think I smoked one. Actually, I smoked 2 this year already. I take that back. I smoked one at Eufaula that they had to change, and then I smoked one of all places at Okeechobee. Listen to me. If you're watching right now, if you're listening, and you live in Florida, don't have that false sense of security because you're in Florida and you think everything's a soft bottom. Dude, Pete Glusick, chime in. The bottom of those lakes, especially when the water's low, is rock. There is rock in Florida, I promise.
Yeah.
Coral rock. Hard as hell.
Unforgiving.
Really bad on prop shafts.
And gators sometimes.
And gators. That's right. That's right. Gators can happen as well there. Let me remind everybody, if you're watching, we do want to hear from you. Please hit us up on the IM if you have any questions or comments throughout the show. Also, if you're watching over on Facebook, feel free to comment. I'm going to check that feed periodically. Riz, we're going to keep some good comments and questions coming through tonight, man. I like it. Let's get right to it. Normally, we have a little delay. Normally we Skype, Bri, and it's awkward because you got to find the guy and you got to dial him up. And using this new Zoom system, I like it because we've already got our guest sitting, waiting here in the wings. We're going to bring him on right now. Ed, I'm going to give you just this little short intro, and it's the best way I can say it is very, very, very impactful in my life, in my career, getting to compete against this guy through the Federation. If you live in the Northeast, you know who he is. You know him from the Bassmaster Classics as well. The one and only Ed Cowan joins us tonight. Ed, how you doing?
Good. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Not too bad. Now, we wanted to have you on this show a really, really long time, and now we finally get you, and it's via Zoom. We wanted you in studio, but this is okay. This is, I guess, the next best thing. How How are you doing? How you holding up during quarantine? How's the family?
Oh, good. I would rather sat on the couch. I had to go buy my own Founders here.
Yeah, yeah. How about that?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That would have been better to drink yours. And I don't have the one of the day. I just have an all-day IPA.
All day IPA is pretty good. So speaking of
Can't go
Founders,
wrong.
Ed brought it up.
Can't go wrong.
I've got mine tonight, Brian the Carpenter. This is a Masagave.
That's
This is a
right.
new one, no? And this is the
That's the Masagave grapefruit.
grapefruit.
Yeah. So last year we had the Masagave.
Yes.
Which is a ghost style beer, and it's aged in a tequila barrel.
Right.
So it's got all kinds. It's nice. It's tart.
Now, a lot of people watching right now, that they're watching me drink it out of this ball mason jar.
Yeah.
It's got ice, and it's got salt on the
Salted
rim.
rim.
Little
It would be
strange.
beautiful in a margarita glass right
Right.
now, but we don't have all
Okay.
that.
Now I can hear everybody except Mike pretty well. Mike, you're pretty well on.
Ooh, I'm low. Okay.
How is that, dude?
Oh, my God.
It's so ridiculous. I love it.
Crank your computer volume to the max, Ed.
Wow.
Yeah, I got it at the max. You come on loud and clear. Everybody else is real good. Mike's low. I
I'm
don't know
low. This is the first time in history someone said I speak low.
That's right.
why. Yeah, see?
This is rare. Ed, have you had a chance? I know a lot of anglers, their fishing schedule has been disrupted by what's going on. Have you had a chance? Have you been fishing around the house? Have you been fishing, tournament fishing? Tell us a little bit about what's going on fishing wise.
Well, I was working corrections, and I've been looking to retire, and so March 18th, I knew I was exposed, and I got a doctor's note and was quarantined for 14 days. I was okay, but I chose to retire due to this.
Wow.
And, I'm pretty rural here, so there's a couple lakes within a couple miles from my house. You're pretty familiar with the area because I live about 12 miles from Fairview. I know you learned how to bass fish, and I go and drive over, and if there's nobody at the ramp, I go fishing for a little while in the afternoon. So I've got to fish a couple times a week for the 6 weeks I've been home now.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on retirement.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I've been threatening to retire for the last 5 years. One of these days I will too.
Yeah, well, maybe, if it was a life and death thing, you would.
Now that's the Fairview Lake thing. It's funny because Ed, we've talked about it, and I've got to get up there and fish that lake with you. It's phenomenal, and a lot of the fans of the show have heard me talk about it before. But it's I'd call it a smaller lake up in the Poconos. What is it? Probably 80 or 90 acres, Ed. Not that big.
I think more about twice that big, but it's not real big.
Okay, it's not a giant
150
lake,
maybe.
but it's a phenomenal bass fishery, largemouth and smallmouth. It's phenomenal. It's funny because like when there's a lake that you have a lot of history with, you remember everything about it. And I hadn't been there probably since, I don't know, like college, right? Since probably like the mid 90s. And then about 7, 8 years ago, I went up there on a little family vacation, and it's unbelievable that I remembered everything. Like every little like boulder, rock, high spot, like everything. I remembered it. No GPS coordinates. Just literally gone out there and by sight, because when I fished it as a kid growing up, we were in a John boat. There was no GPS. There was no waypoints. Everything was a lineup, And I remember my grandfather lining places up, and he'd say, the flagpole, at the girls' camp, the flagpole with the dock, and there's a high tension line, and you'd have all these coordinates, and it's so eerie because I remembered every spot like it was yesterday. And 10 or 15 years had passed, and I remembered it like it was yesterday. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So before you get off of Fairview,
Yeah.
I was there once.
You were.
Yeah, you took me there.
Took you there.
one
Yep.
time
To the cabins. Yep.
Yeah. How old were we? 8th grade.
That sounds about right. 8th grade or 9th grade, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And I don't know how many days we fished it, but I feel like you took me home early.
Did I? Because the fishing was no good or something?
No, because I caught that big trout.
Was I mad at? Yeah, so Brian, we did a lot of, we bass fish primarily, but, back then we had a trolling motor on a john boat. So we'd fish a spot, and then, you'd put the motor on to get to the next spot. And I can remember, we were fishing, I want to say we were fishing the hump out in the middle, and then we were going toward the main boat ramp.
I just remember we were going to make a run across the lake.
Yeah.
So you were like, yeah, we're going to make a run. I'm like, well, F it. I'm going to throw, I'm going to troll across because we're only on electric only.
Oh, yeah.
So back then, I don't remember how many different baits we had, but it wasn't many. And one of the main deals was our Apollo 9S. That was your jerk bait, your top water bait. You know what I mean? That was like everything. And,
so key.
And I remember throwing that Rapala out there. I swear there were boats that had downriggers trolling for trout. And how deep's that lake?
Ed, what is that lake? That lake's got some deep water in it.
Yeah, it's 50-something feet
Yeah.
deep.
We trolled over 50
Yeah, maybe
foot.
60.
I trolled a 9S, which dives about a foot deep over 50 foot and caught a 5-pound brown.
There's a load of trout in there.
Alewife. Alewife, baby.
Yeah.
Love
So
them
And
alewife.
there were guys out there with downriggers and shit.
Yeah, they were mad at
You got mad at him for catching the trout and took him home?
I don't think I did. I don't recall it that way. It might have been something else.
Anyhow.
I don't know. It was at that point in my life. It was bigger than any trout I had ever caught.
That's right. So it probably was the truth.
At that point in my life.
It's all water under the fridge at this point.
So we got the ghost of Ike's bent prop shaft on the message board.
Ah.
And the ghost of Ike's bent prop shaft says, all he saw was dirt and grass, then rocks. I limped into the light. We also had Buck Stronghold Gentleman Bronco, who says a soft bottom is the reason why we all got married in our 20s and 30s.
Oh my god. Oh my god. We get some good ones coming through.
Hold on, one more from Buck Stronghold. There needs to be a founder's IPA called Ike's Prop Shafts.
I like it.
When they're bent, they're bent. There ain't no coming back. Slight wobble, big wobble, they're gone. Ed, I want to talk a little bit about your history in the sport. And for those of you that are watching and listening right now, Ed, you've qualified for 2 Bassmaster Classics. And more important than that, I think this is more important. You won 2 Federation National Championships, which, if you're a grassroots guy, that's the freaking holy grail of accomplishments. Not 1, but 2. So a giant resume. But I've got the notes here, but I want to hear it from you, Ed. How did you get into it? Because when I got into it, which was the early 90s, when I got into it and joined my first club and started as a rider and started to know the names in the Federation in Northeast, you were one of the guys. You were the guy. But I want to hear from you. How'd you start? How'd you get your start in fishing and in the sport?
Well, my grandfather was a pretty fair fisherman, and they tell me I caught a fish when I was 8 months old.
Wow.
If you look on the Instagram, I got a stringer. I'm standing next to a stringer of bass in Gun Lake, Michigan. When I'm 2 years old. I got a picture on there of a 22-inch bass I caught when I was 11. My grandfather had, close to the time of retirement, he bought some property on a little lake in Michigan, built a cottage, and I spent my summers there from the time I was 10 to when I was 16, the whole summer. I'd fish every day. And he got me a subscription to Fishing Facts and Bassmaster. I've been a Bass member since 1972.
Wow.
So, and we had a 12-foot Myers V-bottom, 6-horse Evinrude, and probably when I was 12, he got a trolling motor, which had like no thrust back then, Sears trolling motor, and a little green box. So, and I'd read my Bassmaster and go out there, when I was 12 years old and, fish and all right up to, I've been, in the sport since the beginning of the sport. So everything's a new technique to me. We started out, before I was bass, we catch most of our bass member and follow the tournaments. When I was 10, we were catching our fish on, a 6-inch cream worm with 3 hooks in it and maybe a spinner, maybe not, which my trajectory, that's a spy bait. That's the same presentation as you're fishing a spy bait. Nothing new about it.
Old school.
That's is a spy bait. Okay.
Hey, Ed, can you hear me, Ed?
Yeah.
That's pronounced creme.
What's that?
Creme. It's creme worms.
Okay, creme.
Creme?
Yep.
What do you have to roll the R?
There were earthworm colors, and then they became blue, and then they became purple, and they stayed purple a long time until they became green pumpkin. So that's the history of and I learned a lot. I mean, you fish every day on a good body of water, and you learn how to. And you got a depth finder out there, and most of the fish was a lowland type reservoir, so the fish are related to the creek channel. And as the weather in the summer stayed stable, the fish would move up the lake, and you get a front, and they drop back down the lake. And I followed these fish up and down that lake for 11 weeks every summer, fishing every day.
Yeah.
So and actually I got my first bass club as soon as they let me in. I think it was 1977 or so. It might have been 76, and and fished bass clubs ever since.
Was that out in Michigan when you joined your first?
No. I moved out to the Rockland County, New York, by the Tappan Zee Bridge when I was 12 years old. So,
Okay.
But when I grew up, so basically we'd ride our bike and fish around whatever ponds we could sneak into and stuff like that. As soon as I was old enough to drive, I got a John boat and started fishing Harriman State Park and things like that. I didn't catch a smallmouth until I was, 16 years old, because it's all largemouth fishing in the part of Michigan. It was, basically a farmland, lowland type reservoir, weeds with weedy flats with a 12-foot channel run through it.
All right.
Pretty typical.
Now I want to give you a staggering fact here, and for everybody listening, and Pete, I want you to listen to this as well. Ed, you've qualified for national championships in 91, 92, 94, 2005, and 2006. That's unbelievable, man. That's crazy because, and you got to put all this in context too. And I want to talk about this as well, but you got to remember back then, right, in the 80s and 90s, the federation, there was the Bass Federation. It was the strongest grassroots league program out there. It was before the split. It was before things got divided.
Yep.
It was before FLW had an impact grassroots. I mean, there was BFL, but not through the club level. It was before Major League Fishing. It was before all that stuff. And I can remember, when I first started as a rider, same thing, as a John boat, started hearing about and reading about the Federation. Man, it's where I wanted to be because I knew how tough it was, right? You hear people now talk about, I want to fish here and here because I want to compete against the best. For me as a kid growing up in Jersey, and Pete, I'll throw it to you on this one, I wanted to fish the New Jersey Federation because I wanted to get to the divisional. I wanted to get to the national because I wanted to compete against the best in the Federation. And so many names in Jersey. Richie Schneiderite. Ed, your name was always there.
Pig.
So many. Bob Soley. Ted Soley. So many of these names. Pete Glusick, your name in there.
Bogo.
That I wanted to compete against. It was the place to be. You remember that, Pete? You remember that wanting to go compete against these guys?
Oh man, it was it was the best. It was the absolute best. There was options like FLW had the option. You had the BFLs. What were they called? The Redmans that was out there. There were some tournament trails out there, nowhere near what there is today. The Federation was where it was. That was where there was tremendous talent there. We were drawing a ton of boats. It was very, very competitive, and that was the recipe to get to the Classic. You had to go. You qualified for the divisional, which was hard because in Jersey we had a really competitive, and people around the country might not, right? They're thinking to themselves probably, what, Jersey competitive? It was highly competitive in our federation. Heck, there was 5 or 6 guys that went out on tour and made classics, all from the Jersey Federation. So it was competitive. We all wanted to go to the divisional, and it was an amazing thing that the Federation had together at that point with a trip to the national. And it's amazing, Ed, how many times you've been to the national. I can't imagine how many divisionals that you qualified for to qualify for the national so many times.
What do you credit that to? I noticed what you just said about Jersey being so competitive all the time in the Federation, and putting, even for a small state, that amount of guys on tour. What do you credit that to? Is it because the lakes that we fish are so tough? Is it the style that we have to learn how to fish? What creates that?
I only can say guys like Ed and Rich Schneiderite, the excellence that they had in their tournament competitions. They were taking it to the next level, before a lot of other people were. And I want to, remember this about Ed, because I remember when you came to the Federation, Ed, we were out there, I was competitive. I was mentored by Rich Schneiderite. He's won so many Federation tournaments. He's qualified for so many teams and divisionals, been to the national a few times, and he was great. He was a great mentor, taught me so much. And you came into the Jersey Fed with a whole different brand of fishing that was different and just as incredibly successful. But the two things that stand out for Ed Cowan and me that always was the deal that I was so hard to learn how to compete with you on was, number one, sight fishing. In the springtime when the fish were spawning, you were on the cutting edge of that technique, and you dominated during those sight fishing tournaments when you first came in to fish with us. The other one was the flipping technique. You came in flipping shallow habitat, you flipping heavy weights, doing stuff that a lot of guys weren't doing, and just coming in and dominating, during those periods. And that exposure, I think, to answer your question, Rich, is what elevated us. And there was tremendous competition. I mean, I was out there, Ike was there. There's a guy named Tim Roach that was highly competitive, and we were driving each other solely. We were pushing each other to get better and better. And that was and it was all happened right there in the Federation. But Ed, you were amazing. You came in and taught us, hey, we better start learning how to catch these fish off the bed.
Yeah, well, I won that '91 national championship bed fishing, and I was ahead of the curve. Now everybody knows how to bed fish. It was funny because I fished a tournament on Greenwood Lake with Frank Geiner, and I had like 5 bass spawning along the shoreline, and it was a popular spot. And we're running by, and I tell him I got 5 fish there. He says, "No way, they're still there," And we got there about 2:00 in the afternoon. I told him one would be gone because it was like on the edge of this, between this ramp and a dock. Anybody that ever fished for bass was going to cast right there. So with all this pressure, I knew somebody would catch that fish eventually. But those other 4 were still there at 2:00 during the tournament after this got, because people just didn't bed fish, back then. So
I ran from it. I still run from it sometimes.
But Rich Schneiderite was a big influence to me. And the thing, I had an epiphany about 1990. I basically looked at what different guys that were successful were weighing in, and Schneiderite was so successful, And the thing I figured out about Snide is you couldn't possibly catch more fish than this man. This man weighed a limit every single day he was on the water. And that's what prompted me to flip so much. I figured out that in order to, I watched Joe Sancho and Tom Bellucci. Now, way back then, Joe was real young, and they weren't that consistent like Snide, but they flipped a lot, and what they were weighing in were bigger average fish. So I had this epiphany. I realized I had, the traditional wisdom in tournament fishing at the time is you go catch a limit, then call. Well, you don't have time to do that. You better start calling from right away. You got to start fishing for big fish. I started just targeting bigger fish, and it really paid off to me. That's why I started having more success, because you can only bring in 5 a day. Now at the MLF, you can bring in 1 million, so it probably might not have worked out. So I couldn't beat Rich like that if I let him catch a bunch of fish. But I could catch bigger fish than him, and I found that my catch rate didn't fall off enough to make up for this increased size of the fish. 4 3s way more than 5 2s.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Basically, the math of the whole thing.
Yeah, and Pete, you hit it on the head. You talked
and by
about
the same token, what you're saying about Jersey, you're so right about Jersey. I fished the New York Federation and qualified for the 91, 92, and 94 Federation Championships. And in 94, after the Federation Championship, Tony Going, the Federation president, he talked to me at the National that Brian Kershaw won there, and he said, you're fishing with Bellucci and Sancho. All your buddies are in the New York, the Jersey Fed. You fished one of our tournaments and won. What the heck you running upstate New York for all the time? You live 10 miles from Greenwood Lake. You should fish with us. So I switched over to New Jersey, and it took me 5 years to make it back to the national championship after going 3 times in 4 years. I started wondering if it was really a smart thing to join the tougher group like that after a while.
Oh, man.
We were always mad at Tony for that, Mike, and that pissed us off because Tony was like the college basketball coach that would drive all over in like the surrounding states and recruit the best anglers from those states and try to draw them in to fish on his state team. And Ed was at the top of anybody's recruiting list, and Tony got him. So.
Yeah, he did. And the first year I fished the Jersey Fed, I was angler of the year, and it was relatively. I found it relatively easy. I won 3 of their 6 tournaments, and basically a lot of the lakes we fish are pretty small, like Greenwood, Hapakon. Greenwood was basically my home lake anyway, and I'd run around and I'd have to run on the lakes the way my style of fishing, and because everybody's trying to fish like Rich Snide, because rightfully so, he'd dominated that circuit for a while. And then I'm not sure if it was 95 or 96, but all of a sudden there was this young kid with long hair with this some kind of beige color Ranger boat that was fishing everywhere. I wanted to fish, and fishing just like me. I think we all know who he is.
Them long hairs, you got to watch out for them long hairs.
Hippies.
They're a bunch of hippies.
Oh yeah. I noticed. Even before Mike was real successful, he was on my radar from day one. Cause
in your spots.
We thought with the Corona deal, Mike, you might get some Corona locks growing. But I don't see that.
No long hair yet. No.
Yeah. And nobody noticed him from screaming because he was real quiet back then.
Yeah, what was up with that, Mike?
I was screaming inside. I just didn't want to let nobody in on the spot.
I talked to Ed about this a little earlier, and Dave, do you remember the early days of tournament fishing with Mike?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, we would hang out the night before. We'd talk about, where we're fishing tomorrow. We might even have been at the bar the night before. Come tournament day, right? Launch our boats, help each other get the boats in the water. 11 o'clock, you're passing each other on the bank. Yo, Mike, how you making out? Crickets. Not a word. He wouldn't even look up. He'd look at you and then head back down and keep going. wouldn't even respond to you. Like, motherfucker, I was buying you drinks last night. What you talking about?
Did I do that?
Yeah, you did that.
That's horrible. I'm sorry for doing that.
And then the tournament's over. Oh, you
Brian,
didn't catch a limit?
Hey, Brian, you're remembering this all wrong. He wouldn't even go out and drink the night before.
You're right.
Going to draw.
You're right.
He wouldn't even come out with us, dude.
Yep. You're right.
Focused.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, earlier I heard you say that you and Brian are at least 12 feet apart from each other. I guess the good thing is you're only about 11 feet from his hammer, dude.
I know. It's crazy. The tip's right there. It feels like it's right next to me. It's horrific.
Ew. It's disgusting.
I do want to get back to, Pete, what you talked about, which I want to get back, and I want to corner you on this a little, Ed, because I gotta figure this out in my mind. The two techniques that Pete mentioned, I'd say sight fishing for sure is one, and the other one's flipping, but especially flipping big stuff, like punching. You know, big jig even in super shallow water, punching a big weight through mats. Dude, Ed, you were so ahead of your time on that one. Like, so ahead of your time that it makes me mad when in the last 20 years, I've run into people all the time and they say, oh, I know so-and-so, and, he invented punching in 93, or he was the best. And I stop and I think, that's fucking wrong. That's bullshit. Because I saw Ed punching in a Federation tournament on the Hudson River before there was tungsten. There wasn't even tungsten yet. I got to wrap my hands around did you figure that out on your own? Did you borrow that from another angler? I know you mentioned Sancho a little. You mentioned some of those guys. But those particular techniques, sight fishing, punching, you were so ahead of the curve. And these techniques now are mega techniques, especially punching. Think of how many tournaments, Brian the Carpenter, let's get a count. You're good. Research it real quick.
Yeah, right.
How many tournaments have been won punching, let's say, in the last 10 years? Well, shit, you were punching since, like, the late 80s. How's this possible?
Well, first the sight fishing. Basically, there was a fella in Massachusetts, Larry Aller. He was old when I was starting out, and he said that you could catch every single bass on a bed. You could see him, you could catch him. Now, he didn't tell me how to catch him. He didn't tell me a thing, but I had the utmost respect for him. So I parked myself there until I figured out how to catch the darn things, because he told me it could be done. And maybe he was just lying to me, but it could be done. So now the punching, it's I don't know if I've heard you talk before about the drop speed thing. I think
Rate of fall. Yep.
Punching is technique, but I think I evolved more about speed control, how fast a lure how you can get a reaction with speed out of a lure. And that stems from like in 1972, like when I started reading fishing facts, there was this guy, Buck Perry. I don't know if anybody even heard of him anymore, but he had this system there was basically a crankbait trolling system. And with the equipment of the day, the depth finders, the reels were slow. I mean, I got this thing sitting here. That's the casting reel I learned how to cast with. When you cast, the thing's spun backwards. The gear ratio probably picks up about 15 inches of line. So he could get a speed out of his lure by trolling that you couldn't get retrieving. And so he would basically have this system where he'd start shallow. He had his own, these crazy crankbaits he made that were made out of metal. And he'd start shallow at a given, let's say you go 2 feet, and he'd increase his speed down the bank. And he could also map because you could feel the bottom. And then he'd move out to 4 feet and start slow and go faster and faster and deeper and faster and deeper. Crankbaits back in the early mid 70s, they wouldn't run more than maybe the deepest diving one, 8 feet on a cast. especially with these slow reels. But by trolling, they'd run maybe twice as deep. So the speed thing came out of that. Well, you can't troll really during a tournament. One way you could gain more speed was, I know, like Tom Mann used like a saltwater spinning reel like this. I still have mine, and to get enough speed to get reaction bites, sometimes I'd fish this, saltwater surf cast and spinning reel that it probably picked up 30 inches of line on a reel turn, and it weighs about a pound. So I started to get speed, worked on drop speed, more weight. I learned that you could get a reaction bite by using a heavier weight. And, of course, you can get into the weeds better using a heavier weight. So it was more of a retrieve speed thing, the drop speed and the punch, and just developed from that. And I fished the Hudson a lot. It had the chestnuts. You'd run a Johnson Silver minnow over them, and a fish might bust through when they're not biting. You'd have to use something heavier enough to get through the chestnut to get to the fish, So
Yeah.
Kind of I developed it, and some other guys were developing it at the same time. I reproduced. I got a few up on the eBay of this jig. Let's see, where is it? You recognize that flat-sided thing? Maybe.
Let me see that thing.
You ever seen those? It's like a punch jig.
Yeah.
This lure, Tony Going was selling.
Ed, move it to your left.
Where am I? There I.
There you go.
Tony
Looks like
Going
something
was
you'd
selling
shoot out of a musket.
Yeah, it's thin and it's pointy, and this thing really goes through the milfoil. There was more milfoil up in the Finger Lakes and things back then, and Greenwood and the Pack-On. We were flipping that thing in the weeds on Greenwood Lake in the 80s. So whoever told you that they developed punching in the 90s was 10 years behind guys like Tom LeVictory and me. And
How much does that jig weigh, Ed? The one you were just on?
This one's an ounce.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an ounce. I had some left over from the old days, and I was running out, so I reproduced a mold and poured myself a few. I'm looking for something to do in my social distancing here, so I got a few up on eBay.
Is there a weed guard on there?
Yeah, that's just so you can see the wacky shape of this thing. I got just a blank here. This is a black and there's a black and blue one.
Hell yeah.
With a regular standard weed guard. I changed the angle of weed guard from what the original was. It was like an Ocean. The hook was terrible back in the 80s. This is a Mustad hook. I usually pour most of my stuff on VMC, Mike. But this is a pretty long jig, and when you make your own stuff, you got the advantage of if you're a manufacturer and you can order 10,000 of these hooks, you can get VMC or somebody or whoever you want to make the one for you. Otherwise, you got to sort through the catalogs and find something that's going to work for you.
Yeah, it's giant. Looks like Lex Steele's foreskin, dude.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're not fishing. I won the New York Federation on Cayuga in 1988 with that jig.
Wow.
In the milfoil, and you know what? I think I was fishing real close to where that last Elite got one there.
Wow.
But the grass used to be heavier out there. When I got on to school, I caught 4-pounders on consecutive flips.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And it was 25 mono and 1 ounce jig and
mono.
The fishing musician on the message board wants to know if this is the milfoil custom Cowan jig. Where can he get one?
Oh,
they got them on eBay.
eBay.
Put Ed Cowan, Cowan jig, and it'll come. Or if you put Ed Cowan, under sporting goods, you'll get I got several things up there. I got my new little baby spinner bait. Buzz bait.
And we work with Tackle Warehouse, man. We got to make this happen. Let's get you on there.
Wait a minute. Hold that up again.
I don't know. I don't yet have I'm hand pouring these things, so Tackle Warehouse, I'd be working 200 hours a week.
Dave Brodzik, did you see that image right there? What Ed just held up, that little buzz bait with a tube on it.
Yeah.
Do you want royalties or?
No, I mean, listen, Ed's a pioneer. You know, two smart guys. Even though he's not Polish, he can have a great idea too. No?
You know what? Me and Frank Geiner fished like the Foxwoods tournaments. They gave away boats and on the weekends, around New England basically. And we would take apart a Cavatron buzzbait, pull the blade off, string a Gitsit over the thing until it went down over the head, put the whole thing back together, and fish it like that. And the reason we did that with the 1/8 ounce buzzbait, I know Mike did real good in a recent tournament with that, throwing it on a spinning rod. Well, I don't fish a spinning rod a whole lot. Not that I'm against the fishing a spinning rod. It's the right thing to do a lot of times, but I got some carpal tunnel and my hand goes to sleep when I fish with a spinning rod. And, and back in the 90s, you didn't have braid. So if you're fishing a spinning rod, you're fishing with 8-pound test. Well, I can throw this little equivalent of an 1/8 ounce buzzbait on a bait casting rod, like 15-pound line and, fish and pull a good fish out of the kind of stuff that they live in when they eat this thing.
Wow.
So
It looks like Mike okay.
So Ed, when I'd come up with the idea, I'd come up with putting it on a small buzz bait like that too, and I was using the Strike King Bitsy tube on braid specifically so I could skip it under docks and skip it under overhangs and put the buzz bait in a presentation in a position where fish don't usually see one. I didn't do it for casting distance or anything like that. I did it just to specifically skip it.
Oh yeah, that's the beauty too of plastic trailer like a frog or that tube on a buzzbait is that you can skip it. But you know what? I fished the early 90s on the pro circuit and stuff like that. There's a regular frog one I make. Guys from this part of the country don't can't cast because we're mostly throwing at weeds and you don't need to have to know how to cast to throw at a weed. So I found like when I went and fished the pro circuit, some of those guys down south are just amazing. Their casting ability. You watch some of the MLF and some of those guys can cast. It's unbelievable what they can do.
Yeah.
But but the skipping, yeah, that's a big advantage of it too. The ability to skip it, but it doesn't come into play that much most of the waters I fish because mostly I'm fishing around weeds.
All right.
I want to get back to this, and I want Pete to weigh in on this as well as Ed. I've heard it. A lot of people, especially recently in the last couple of years, have said that the heyday of bass fishing, the heyday of competitive bass fishing, was the mid to late 80s, all the way up to about the mid 2000s. You hear it a lot, especially the 90s, the heyday of competitive bass fishing. And when I look at that, when I hear people talk about it, I see a lot of, I draw a parallel with when the Federation was strong, right? When the BASS grassroots program, before it was the Bass Nation, back when it was the BASS Federation, it was strong back then. You put that bass sticker on your truck. Dave, you remember? Brian the Carpenter, remember? When you were a bass member, dude, you were proud. You stuck that sticker on the back window. It felt like something. It felt like
It was our suburban gang sign. Dude.
Yeah, it was a gang sign. It was a gang sign. But it felt important. Everyone from New Jersey to California, you rooted for the guys in the Federation, right? Kershaw.
Still do.
They still, yeah, right? Kershaw is a great example. Like, man, I was rooting for him, and I vividly remember that. And I remember fishing my national, winning my national championship, and the feeling that came with that. And then this split happened.
Oh, man.
And do you remember the year? Pete, can you give me a year? Or Ed, do you have a year that the split happened? Got to be what?
2006, because, yeah.
06, 07?
2006, I was at the last national before the split.
And when that happened, it was severed, right? Was that it almost felt like the beginning of the end, because you had this giant unity of grassroots guys that they believed, heart and soul, they believed in it. And this was the route to the pro circuit. This is how the common man could compete and win and all that. And then it was divided. And ever since then, it's never felt right.
Yeah.
Nothing's felt right at that level. I want you guys to talk about it. Brian, you agree with what I'm saying?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, what were the fields like back then versus now?
Right.
So
everything got split, right? So New Jersey got FLW Federation, a BASS nation. Nobody knows what's what. It's all fractured and severed.
So talk about fractured. You know what I mean? With what's going on, what's taking place in the last couple years.
Right. Now you got MLF. Now you got FLW. You got all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Do you agree with this, Pete? Jump in. I want to hear it from you.
Well, I'll comment on it. It's funny because I was going to ask the same thing. That the '80s seemed to be the boom. That's when they were selling unbelievable amounts of bass boats every year, and it just the sport exploded into the '80s. And you were around doing it then, Ed. I didn't even know about the sport at that time, but the '80s was where it boomed. I'm with you about the federation. And the federation was really important to us. And the interesting thing that I have noticed about the federation, Mike, is like guys like down the South, I don't know that the federation was as important to them as it was to us. I'm not sure of that. Like, I see, I see some of the guys that fish the tournaments down there. They do a lot of cherry picking of tournaments and fish different types of tournament trails. I don't know, the federation, it was weird, but I don't know. That's kind of off the beaten path. I agree with you though. When we had one to pro tournament trail, when we had one federation, it was that was a great time. It was a wonderful time in the sport, and I enjoyed it a lot. I'm interested in Ed's opinion. You went through the '80s. And you're seeing what's going on now. We got MLF. They're all over different television channels. There's more pros out there now. Is this the heyday of the sport? Was it bigger in the '80s? What do you think?
Well, I got a two-prong answer. For a local angler, for a weekend guy, in the Northeast, probably the mid '80s through the '90s was like the best time. They had big tournaments, a lot of small companies, a lot of things sponsored. There was, the federation was real strong. There was a big circuit in the Northeast. They had the Foxwoods out of Connecticut, Lee Bailey. Lee Bailey had a $200 tournament on the weekend. His entry fees went up to $350 by the end of his thing. Everybody that was anybody in New England was fishing these things, and he was giving away a boat. The year in '99 when Bob Soley made the Bassmaster Classic, I fished the Foxwoods with a Frank Einer, and we won more money a piece than he did fishing pro, making it to the Bassmaster Classic, just fishing in New England on the weekends.
Yep.
And putting up $200 entry fees. So for the local guy, the federation guy, the '90s was really the time.
Yeah.
I was there for the very last national championship when the split happened in 2006, and then I fished. So I was national championship in the Bass Federation in 2005, and I fished the Strength Series, which is like the AAA level of FLW at the time. And when FLW took over the federation, I'd go on stage. They wouldn't say a thing about it. They didn't. They were not committed to the federation. That told me right there. You'd think if you had your federation national championship from 2 years earlier, and the federation was part of your organization, they would make a big deal about that. And it never came up on stage. And I had some pretty high finishes. I was there when you won that one on the Hudson, came in 5th place at that tournament, and you did a heck of a job there. That was one of the great performances of all times. In my book, I remember that one always. But as far as being a pro angler, I wish I was 30 years younger right now, because this is the heyday. Well, let's say 2019 was the best time to be a pro angler there's ever been. I don't know about now. But with the competition between, there was 3 major circuits. With the competition, these guys were actually guys that were never making a living before, making good living, and they got no entry fee tournament there with the MLF. I mean, it's finally really a real pro sport, or it was. I don't know what this is going to do to it.
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you think about that, Mike?
Yeah, I don't know. Definitely, the world's going to change. We'll see. Hopefully, we don't go backwards. Hopefully, it's not stagnant. We continue to go forward. But that actually brought me to another question, Ed, that I want to ask you. And, you mentioned it a little bit. You dabbled in the pro realm for a little while. You fished a lot of what I consider pro stuff, which is Strens and Opens. You've dabbled in that stuff. But what I said in the beginning of the interview, I want to get back to it, and I want to corner you on this, is true. And listen to me when I say this. I know there are a lot of people watching and listening right now. I've competed against a lot of dudes from all over the country, all over the world. You, for sure, Ed, you're one of the best, most natural fishermen I've ever seen. And it's hard to put that into, it's hard to describe what that is, a natural fisherman. The ability to catch them with, you don't need a lot of stuff. You're just natural that you find them and catch them. You're one of the best natural fishermen I've ever competed against, yet you never took it to the next level, right? You, in my opinion, you're better than Van Dam. You're better than Aaron Martins.
Shots fired.
You're better than Skeet. I'm serious. I'll say it. I don't care. Let him call the show right now. You're better than those guys. You are. I'm telling you, you're better than those guys. Yet you never, you never decided to do it full time. You never took it to that next level. There are a lot of people watching right now that have half the talent you have that are going to take it or going to attempt to take it to the next level.
Okay.
Talk to me about that. You got to talk to me about that.
Well, several factors. Well, for one, like Van Dam, I fished with a bunch of guys. Like back when I fished 91 to like 94 to BASS Invitationals. That was 6 tournaments a year. But I held down a full-time job and did with vacation some time off without pay. I fished with Van Dam. He's one of the few anglers. There's three anglers that I've ever fished with, and I've never fished with Mike, that had something that the rest of them didn't have, and that's Kevin Van Dam, Brian Kershaw, George Cochran. Those guys are just something about them. They have something that I don't think I got, even if you think I do. Part of it is just like fishing all my life. Fishing's really more the art than science. There's a lot of fancy equipment, a lot of information, and it's more art than science. I like to fish a lot by instinct. Clun's very instinctive fisherman. I usually look at a lake on a big picture. Basically, you got your overall population, and it's a balance between population and vulnerability of the fish that how I try to decide what I want to target. But if it's this natural thing's probably being out there fishing 100 days straight when I was 11, 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
And the whole world was just learning how to bass fish then.
Right. Yeah.
But it's the decision to go pro. That's a real risky thing to do. In the early 90s, when I did it, there was only 6 guys from the Northeast fishing at all, and it was really a Southern sport. When I was only married, when I made the first Classic in 91, I'd only been married for a couple of years. I was out fishing in 93, these tournaments with my pregnant wife at home, no cell phones because they didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
It's you can really take a toll on your family. It's just a risk, your affinity to take risk and family, balance between. And also in the early 90s, I went to the Classic 91 Classic was fantastic. But when I went to my first invitational after the Classic was on the Illinois River, and I was in ninth the first day, and I moved up to sixth the second day, and I blew my motor the third day. Didn't make weigh-in, ended up finishing, I don't know, in teens. I probably got up in the Wally or someplace. It was pretty tough fishing, but there wasn't any spectators. In '91, I'm going to this thing, 1,000 miles from home, and fish this thing, and it's like there's really nothing to this sport. In 1991, it wasn't a legitimate, it wasn't a pro sport.
Right.
It wasn't, and then, I fished the early 90s and decided not to. And then I came back to New Jersey, and, really there wasn't the flow of information there is now. So the guys that I was fishing against in those invitationals in 91, 92, 93, they were 10 years ahead of the guys in, the Northeast. So when I came home with this knowledge, 10 years advanced to what everybody else had, it was pretty easy for a while. I won a bunch of money in the late 90s locally. And then I was good friends with Brian Kerschel. I got to a point that my goal was that second national championship. I didn't even care about going to the 2005 Classic. I wanted that Brian Kerschel trophy, and that's why I kept competing at that level.
Yeah.
At that point, it was just to win that one tournament.
Yeah.
So
wow.
I was real glad to have won that.
Yeah. Well,
my youngest son's named Brian. He was got a bunch of stories about him.
Yeah.
He was traveling with me in the early after '94, making the Classic. He was one of the ones that was going around on the pro tournaments that year.
Wow. Well, that's yeah. I think it's amazing, because Ed brought up the reality of fishing full time, which is it's not just
more to it.
Yeah, there's more to it, right? There's not just the glory and the trophies and the money. It's time away from home. It's sacrifice. It's commitment. It's being away from your wife, your kids. I mean, it's a decision, and Ed, you decided not to do it. You decided not to get to those next levels. Do you ever second guess your decision not to keep pushing higher, to not fish the elites, to not fish the tour? Do you ever regret that decision?
Well, hindsight's 20/20. Like in 2005, when I made the Classic by winning the Federation National Championship, they had this Fishing the Dream thing where that was the first year for the elites. I qualified for the elites by winning that tournament. I got offered a full sponsorship to fish that the elites, but I was doing fairly well in construction. If I knew that the housing market was going to collapse in 2007, I probably would have fished the elites. But from the information I had in 2005, it was more fiscally responsible to stay home and make money building stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You were probably right.
There's so much to it. I mean, you said it, Mike. There's so much more to it than fishing to be able to make it at the top level. And you do. You're spending time away. The financial strain that it puts on your relationship, to try to do this thing is more than a lot of people can take. And, it is a big risk. And you said, I got to weigh in on this because I think it's important about Ed. I want to, the guys on the West Coast, Mike, they're always talking about D. Thomas,
Yeah.
And I put Ed Cowan in that range.
Hell yeah.
People that have influenced guys like you and me and other guys that have gone on to fish professionally and win and make classics and stuff. And you're definitely in that category, Ed. And you talked about the guys you fished with that showed something different. And I want to talk about the time that I spent around you that showed me that you are different and you're special in a way that's exceptional. That when we fished a team tournament together, we did one on the Lake George.
Yeah, Lake George.
That was the one we fished together. I thought we might have done another one like on the Hudson or something. I can't remember. But you were captain. And you guys never fished a team tournaments. There's 12 guys that qualify to get there, and Ed was the captain, the guy that finished highest in the points, and he's in charge of basically strategy. That's how we worked it in our state. And the captain, helped us strategize. And you approached fishing in such a simplistic way and brilliant way, where we would have our practices and you would assemble the information. All right, how many guys fish shallow? How many guys fish deep? How many, and you would put the numbers together, and I can't remember what they looked like, but I vividly remember you saying, okay, well, we're 80% of our guys are catching them shallow or whatever we're doing. And, we're going to practice that way the rest of the time. And you assembled guys together. Okay, well, you're really not good at fishing shallow, so we're going to put you in the boat with somebody that is. You paired up the coes and the boaters, developed a great strategy so that our team had the best chance to go out there and win. And you took this insurmountable, complicated, patterns and all different techniques and all this stuff. And in such a short time, you developed a winning strategy, and we went out and crushed the field. And that, to me, like, I've tried to duplicate that kind of thinking, because you get bogged down with dock talk. You get bogged down with, all these crazy spin baits and, whopper plopper techniques and who's doing what. But your ability to cut through all that bullshit and get to the winning was, I think, that is what separates you from a lot of guys that I've met in the fishing world.
Yeah, those things I learned a lot being on those state teams. Some of these guys all are, every man for himself, but the state gave us such support. I couldn't see. Imagine you fishing all year and qualifying for this thing, and then going to some place hundreds of miles from your home and be the one guy out of 12 that wouldn't catch anything because nobody will tell you anything. I wasn't going to let that happen, And actually, that tournament that you were talking about was Lake George, and it wasn't shallow; it was deep. It was crazy deep. And I was actually taking turns taking guys that had never caught a fish on a jig and spoon out, because there was this school of fish that had so many fish that was ridiculous. And I would take guys out during practice and teach them how to catch fish on a jig and spoon. And how deep did you catch the fish there, Pete?
Yeah, I tell this story all over. Deepest I ever caught fish, caught them down from 90 to 100 feet.
Jeez.
It's the only time I've ever seen fish go that deep. But you were actually catching them deeper than me in that tournament.
Yeah. Me and Rich Snyder had a school going in 108 feet of water. It actually, it's like, it was pretty simple. Basically, this lake, was formed by a glacier, and it's crystal clear. It's clear as a swimming pool. And this little stuff called sandgrass grows to about 50 feet. So in the morning, the fish should be up on the edge of the sandgrass in 50 feet of water. And then they'd be on a weed edge in 3 feet of water if you couldn't see into the water. And then during the day, they'd go to the first drop-off was at like 65 feet. So the primary patterns was in the morning at 50 at the weed edge, and then you move out to the first drop, and then you move out later to the second drop, which was like 100. So, but those numbers don't mean anything. And actually, you can identify the forage base and the thermocline will determine how deep a bass will go. And basically, if you get up in the North Country in these natural lakes, if you got lake trout, there's oxygen below the thermocline, because lake trout often live in 150 feet of water. Matter of fact, when we were on these schools of smallmouth in 80 to 100 feet of water, they'd stop biting, and then you catch a lake trout, because when the lake trout are a bigger predator. And the main forage in that lake is smelt, and smelt live in real deep water. So nothing. It's just.
Yeah, it's just more complicated, and you make it sound like it's a walking park. It's just that's the beauty of Ed Cowan right there, Mike.
Hey, Pete, the message board is lit up. We have a lot of people that want to know, how long does it take for your weightless Senko to hit the bottom of 108 feet?
Take a long time. Take a really long time.
It's still sinking.
Well, we were fishing. That was before drop shots, before GPSs. We were doubling the line on our marker buoys. Oh, that's one thing I wanted to mention while I'm scattered brain all over the place. I really enjoy when I see Mike at one of these pro tournaments or the MLF do things I know he learned in the Federation in the 90s. That is the coolest thing. There are some things he does that's absolutely New Jersey.
Oh yeah.
Nobody else does that.
Oh yeah.
And
What's it? Like cut guys off their points? Like, what are you talking about, Ed?
Definitely.
You see him throw a marker buoy more than anybody. And
I still have marker buoys.
Throwing marker buoys in the water. The crazy little tiny buzz bait. Just things. There's just things. They came from New Jersey. He learned it in the Top Rod and at the Jersey Federation. And it's like, it makes me proud when I see him do some of these things.
Yes.
It's like, I know how he learned that.
Jersey to the core.
So anyway, you got to consider also, we got no GPS. We got a flasher depth finder. I got 2-ounce Hopkins on a 5.5-foot pistol grip rod with monofilament line.
2-ounce Hopkins.
People don't consider. I don't know how we live through some of this
On
stuff.
a pistol grip.
On a pistol, on a boron.
I crossed Lake Ontario
Pistol
in the
grip.
fog on a compass, with no cell phone. I mean,
the rod wasn't even graphite; it was boron. Let me remind everybody watching and listening right now, we've got Mr. Ed Cowan on. Great, amazing angler. A lot of insight on the history of the sport right now. If you got a question, hit us up on the IMs. Rich, what do we got coming through? Let's play a little catch up.
Chad in Canada wants you guys to talk a little bit about the similarities between bass fishing and gambling, because essentially it's a professional sport that you are in the entry fee days you are gambling on yourself,
Braz.
And you're playing the odds that you're going to catch the 5 biggest fish in the lake that day, and so go in on that a little bit. Like, talk about how you weighed your risk versus your reward, Ed, and maybe that influenced whether you decided to go full time or not.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't go full time, so I guess it wasn't that high a risk. You know what? Like that Federation program back in the day was awesome. When I went to the Bassmaster Classic in 2005, I figured it cost me $2,500, and I had a 13-year-old boat that I got on a sponsorship deal from Ranger in '93 when I was fishing the pro circuit. So I'm not $2,500 gambling. You don't bet more than you can afford to lose. So basically a trip to the Bassmaster Classic, the Bush Shootout, winning the national championship on a $2,500 investment wasn't much of a gamble.
I got to weigh in here, Mike, because we wanted to hire the Johnston brothers that are lighting it up on the Bassmasters tour. We wanted them to do some seminars for us. They're really cutting edge guys, right?
Yeah.
We couldn't hire them. Reason why we couldn't hire them is because the country of Canada considers bass fishing gambling.
Wow.
And
you heard it here, folks.
Wow.
Yeah, so what happens is they're allowed to come to the country and spend all the time here, and the money that they win is gambling winnings, right? So that's I don't know that I'm cutting through a lot of stuff, but that's basically how they're taxed and how they're perceived.
Right.
They're perceived as gamblers. So if they were going to work for us and give seminars, they would have to have a work visa.
Wow.
And it changes the whole perspective. So we couldn't cut through the red tape to get them to come and do a seminar with us.
Wow. How about that? Or they just made up that story because they didn't actually want to work. They just wanted to fish.
They didn't want to give up the goods.
Yeah.
I'm with Mike.
Yeah. It could be that too.
And getting back to that, I'd like to say, like, when the first bass clubs I was in the late 70s, we just fished for trophies. We didn't even fish for prize money. And, I still fish club tournaments. I'm in 5 Alive Bassmasters, really happening thing in New Jersey.
5 Alive.
We fish tournaments for $40, and it's not, there's no difference between that and the Classic. If you go out there and figure out how to catch a bunch of big fish and execute well, you're going to win a tournament. It doesn't matter who you're fishing against. You could be fishing against Mike and the guys in the MLF, or you could be fishing against the guys on Top Rod or 5 Alive or the Jersey Fed. winning catch is a winning catch, and the fish don't care, and it feels the same. I like bass fishing is just a big puzzle, and when you solve the puzzle and do well, it's real satisfying. And then tomorrow it's all new puzzle, and it never gets old, and you just keep solving the puzzle. You keep changing the pieces, and you just keep solving the puzzle. And if you're fishing against other guys, I basically go out every day fishing. Just if I'm fishing on myself, I'm trying to catch 20-pound limit, or the best the lake can. Some places, I guess you go to Gunnersville, they probably try to catch 30 pounds, or you go to Promised Land State Park in Pennsylvania, you catch 8 pounds. It's the same catch. That's as best as you can do.
I think I caught more than 8 pounds one day there. Got a 12-pound bag there one day. What else we got coming through, Riz?
Mike on the message board wants to know what his best route is to become a bass pro, in your opinion, in the year 2020.
YouTube.
My opinion?
Well, Ike, Pete, Ed, Mike on the board wants to go pro.
Yeah.
Start a YouTube channel and you're automatically a pro.
Start a YouTube channel.
Stay in college.
Dave says stay in college. That's smart.
Get yourself a job. Stop playing.
Yeah. I honestly do want to chime in and say, although this whole show we've said how much things have changed, I think that the process that we talked about tonight, the process that Ed talked about, is the same. If you want to turn pro, I think the best way to do it is to fish a lot. That repetition. You cannot beat repetition. The stair-step process, starting at the bottom and working your way up, even if it's different, right? Back then it was the Federation was the only game in town at the bottom level. It may be a little different now, but in my opinion, fish as much as you can and take your time going through the levels. Take your time going through the levels. In my career, at least, winning, success always told you were ready for the next level. So don't go out and join the opens until you're winning locally and regionally. You know what I mean? Like, win locally, win regionally, then get to the next level, then get to the next level. Go through the steps. I look at some of the best, current anglers. Look at Justin Lucas and Brandon Polinick. They all, even though they're from a different era, they all did the same exact thing that Ed's talking about. They fished as much as they could. They worked their way up the ladder. That's the best route, in my opinion.
Young man, buy a push mower, and maybe in 2 years you can buy a riding mower. You have a better chance of making a fortune doing that than you do trying to do this fish.
It's true.
All right, there's like 6 guys that have castles on fishing.
He's talking to you, Rick.
All right, there's like 6 guys that have a castle because they did it on fishing money. The rest of us, all right, we're robbing castles to pay for the fish money. All right, so all right.
Pete's offended right now.
Pete, am I lying? Am I lying, Pete?
No, I mean the harsh truth, man. It's a hard thing. It's just like any other thing, like you want to be an actor, right? You want to be a pro ball player, it's there's a lot of people that fail.
Some make it and some end up in porn.
There has been more running backs that have played for the Dallas Cowboys than have succeeded at professional bass fishing. Think about that.
Oh my God! Is that true?
Yeah. Think about that.
Those are not real.
It's a horrible stat.
No, I just made that stuff up on whiskey. I'm just saying to think about it. All right.
Yeah, and all those pro sports, if you haven't made it at 22, you're done.
No, but my point is, it is such a difficult sport to succeed at. Just because you can catch them when you go out on Saturday, to go out there and bang against 200 of these guys or 150 of them or whatever, man, it is an unrealistic goal. All right, buy some stock. Buy some Boeing stock right now. For nothing.
Dave,
there's 1 or 2 players. Go ahead.
You would be a great unmotivational speaker.
Unmotivational speaker by Dave.
I'm talking from experience. I'm not talking out of my ass.
I know.
Yeah, I think I proved I believe what he's saying.
Thank you, Ed. The star of the show agrees with me, Brian. What do you have to say about that?
I agree with you too, Dave. I know you know from experience.
We
buddy.
gotta have we gotta have dreams are okay, but you have to have reality checks thrown in there too. So.
Right. It's like
We
a brick,
appreciate
like
that.
a brick through the window.
Right. We do appreciate that.
Hey, I will say this for you guys that want to make it. There's probably more guys making a living off of fishing now through the tournaments, through sponsorships, and through social media that ever have. Getting a castle, like to Dave's ridiculous point, is still really hard to accomplish, and it's true, and I agree. But but you want to make a living at fishing? There's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of industries in fishing that you can get involved with. Like the social media guys some of those guys are really killing it in our sport. So
sign up for the Bass University. Tell them, Pete.
But there you go.
a lot of Bass University students are out competing on the elites and out on the MLF tour right now. But I like Mike's point, and I agree with it. This is a great time too. Fish. Concentrate on your fishing, like Riz is out bending his prop shaft, fishing every day.
Here we go.
The fishing is that's the magic. And right now, there's no sponsorships to be had with what we've got going on right now. And this is a great time, man. Dive in deep, learn those valuable lessons. Do what Cowan did. Fish 100, 150 days a year, and get your skill set going, guys. That's the best way.
Or take advantage of the small business loan interest rates and start a smart damn business.
Wild Bill on the message board says there's two different mottos you can have right now. Ike's is never give up, and Dave's is give the fuck up.
And you guys out there, Pete is one of those 1%ers in the fishing industry. So he made it. All right, there's 100,000 Pete's to one that made it.
Dave, we got to get James Riley to draw you a logo that says "Give the fuck up," and it's gonna be a silhouette of a guy pushing sawdust with the broom. The sawdust scraps.
Just because I'm not ashamed to talk about my failures, all right, doesn't make me a failure. You fucking bastards, all of you.
I love it.
All right, I've got one that came through, Ed, on Facebook, and it came through from a good friend of the show, good friend of ours. Not going to say his name yet until you answer the question. He wants to know, Ed, the classic that you made in Pittsburgh, 2005, Three Rivers. As local as you can get, you were the most local angler probably, and the question is, you thought you were going to win that tournament. You were on a super strong pattern leading up to the event, and then it changed. You want to talk a little bit about what happened and the pattern you were on that was so good? It sounds like it was an interesting pattern on Three Rivers.
I don't remember being on that strong a pattern. I basically I got some good advice with Mike how to cash in. I know from the early '90s that I wasn't going to be a professional fisherman. That I was just going to try to do the best I could. By winning that national championship, they had that bush shootout thing as well as the classic. I was going to 3 big tournaments. I got some good advice with Mike how to. I got some contingency deals going, and being that I had an address at Pennsylvania and the tournament was in Pennsylvania, 6 hours away where I'd never fished before, I let the world think I really knew something. So I got the pre-tournament stuff as a favorite, and generally a federation angler isn't considered a favorite going into one of those tournaments. And I went out the first day and caught one little fish, and that was back in the days of loudmouth bass. And Jay Coomer comes up to me and goes, "Well, what happened?" I said, "I lied." I think if really in my career I was better at the business of fishing, I might end up doing it, because it's really the business aspects of sports probably more important than the angling ability if you want to make a living at it.
Cheers.
There's a fella that's has a Texas Roadhouse wrap boat, Mike Del Vesco. He's been a bass pro as long as I can remember, and he hasn't messed it up by going to any tournaments to prove he doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh my God.
That's a good route.
But he's a great guy. He's a great
Just
promoter.
find one really good sponsor.
You
And then
just basically called your boy a scrub, dude.
Oh my God! I was off fishing the national championship, and he was there was a sign up at the local VFW Bass Pro Mike Del Vesco giving a seminar. You can look him up at Bass. I think he fished 15 pro tournaments and came into money once. But I mean, I fished with him. He's actually a pretty good fisherman. But and he's a real good promoter. He does a heck of a job for the sponsors. But he doesn't mess it up by by going tournament fishing. It costs a lot of money to go tournament fishing, and I don't know what actually helps your business in a lot of cases.
Sounds like he should have a YouTube channel.
He should.
He probably does. I don't know if he's probably retired by now. This is a guy that was doing this in the 80s, and from the time I started, he was at every sports show in the Shimano booth and so forth. One of the best known fishermen in the world is Bill Dance, and Bill Dance hasn't fished a tournament for 40 years. He made a big reputation and he cashed in on it, and he didn't fish into his old age to prove everybody surpassed him.
Is he still alive? No, I'm serious.
I think so. Yeah, at one time he was a high-paid guy in bass fishing. He hadn't fished a tournament in 20 years at that point.
Mike, is Bill Dance still alive?
Bill Dance still alive.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Mike, you're probably somewhat at that point wondering if the tournaments are actually adding to your value.
What?
He's competitive, Ed. He ain't leaving.
I am competitive.
He fishes the winter league things in New Jersey. Really, I mean,
because he's competitive.
Yes, but you could fish a pot tournament for $40 and be with your family at night, and it's just satisfying if you put it together and do well.
I can tell you this.
Dave's Dreams on the message board just checked in and said, before he crushes me, just let me say hi.
Hey, Ed, I got a question for Ed. Listen to me, Ed. Brian and I were talking about this earlier.
Okay.
How many Federation guys have ever won 2 national championships other than Mike?
Ed.
No, there's one other. I forget his name. He was from down south someplace. He won.
So someone else did?
Yeah, somebody else did. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, somebody else did because somebody made a mistake in a magazine and say I was the first one, and this poor fellow had passed in the late '90s or something, and it hurt his wife pretty bad that nobody recognized. I wish I could remember his name right now. Somebody in the audience knows who it is.
What year did you win yours, Ed?
91. So whoever won in 1990 won it again in like 95 or 6 or something.
No, I'm saying you. What year did you win?
Oh, I won in 1991 on Smith Mountain Lake in Virginia. I won that tournament bed fishing, and I caught some of my fish on the Sluggo.
Sluggo.
That's really when the Sluggo got known. And second place in that tournament was Herb Reed. And then I won the other one in 2005.
Wow.
And there went the Lunker City sponsorship.
Yeah. Mind if I dance with your date?
Yeah, I had a small sponsorship for him. I mean, in '91 they had 6 invitationals, and Wrangler paid the entry. I fished that year. It was $600 entry fee. Wrangler paid all the entry fees, and I don't know. They sent maybe another that again, and I get a check every 3 months for a couple $1,000, or maybe the sponsorship was worth $10,000 or something back then.
And free jeans. Don't forget about the Wrangler Angler jeans.
I had lots of jeans and stuff.
Don't laugh. I bought a pair of them Wrangler Anglers. I felt like I was ready. I felt like I was ready to go flashing in them. They didn't even fit me right. You know what I mean? Like, this is before belts were cool.
Yeah, but they had the pocket that held your pliers. They had the pliers pocket.
Yeah,
that's a key pocket. That's a key pocket.
Yeah,
but they were cut like a looked like a sheet hanging on a clothesline. Like there was no contour. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, it was really cool back then because you make the federation and you have this sponsorship. If you can get 6 weeks, and the tournament started in the fall and ended in the spring. So basically, most guys with a established could, muscle up 6 weeks vacation, and it didn't cost them anything to go fish the pro circuit for a year.
Ed,
What was the pro circuit then? It was a good deal. It was real nice for the federation guys. And it wasn't so expensive back then. They had that 150 horse limit. We had 18-foot boats and 150 horse motors. The Ranger boat I bought, I only ever in my life bought one brand new boat from a dealer. That was in 1988, and it was a Ranger with everything you could possibly get on a Ranger boat. In 1988, it cost me $18,000.
So Ed,
that was the most expensive, fanciest boat you can get.
Hey Ed, in '88, did you have like an actual real compass on there, dude?
Yeah.
Like in water, you know what I mean? Like the rolls around, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I ran from Clayton to Chamotte Bay in a Red Man tournament with that boat that you could never see more than 200 yards in front of you.
Wow.
I charted the thing off all the headings like a sea captain off the navigation charts, and I got all the way into Chamotte Bay, but I hadn't figured out the headings once you got into Chamotte Bay, and ended up running a circle. Once I got into Chamotte where it opens up, I went off across the road. What I thought was a straight line. I came back right where I was.
Damn. Hey,
but to imagine the things that we did back, before GPSs were running on compasses, before there was no cell phone. I mean, I don't
triangulating
know
with 2
you're out there in
points.
October in Ontario, and there's these monster waves. I don't know what you would have done if you got in trouble out there.
Hey Ed, did you ever use a sextant during a tournament?
Nope, never used a sextant. But I think Pete has.
Yeah,
Pete definitely has.
I used my jib sail and a sextant.
Row.
He swung the jib.
Ed, tell me if this name rings a bell. Talking about guys who've won 2 national championships. Michael Holt.
Holt, that's the guy's name.
Michael Holt.
Michael Holt.
I know that name.
Yep.
That comes from
I'm
our
glad we got
buddy
that
Ken
out there.
Duke.
He deserves a lot of respect,
Michael Holt.
Michael Holt.
He's from Virginia?
And he's selling insurance now for Progressive. All right?
No,
guys, listen. But what do you do? Well, he was selling.
He was.
Yeah,
he was.
years ago.
Ed, did you fish on the Chesapeake, the classic on the Chesapeake?
Yep.
Did you tell me this? The big controversy on the classic is that Ken Cook was protested for farming fish in the Elk River. He was protested for it. What's your take on it? Did that happen? What happened?
What my take on it is, you've been talking about how I makes fishing sound real simple, and he was fishing the simplest, most dependable pattern there is in bass fishing.
Release fish.
Every lake where they have a catch weigh and release tournament, the release site is a good place to fish. There's fish there. They're proven to be stupid. They're proven to be big enough to weigh in. And he fished. He fished there. I had to fish the Pennsylvania Federation tournament down there about 10 years ago, and had the biggest catch the second day fishing that Ken Cook spot. He was just fishing a release area to ram. Simplest thing in the world.
Yep.
Smart. He just made a smart move. The one wild card, one thing that really helped him there was it was a real dry year, and there was a lot of barnacles on stuff. And Randy Romig got cut off numerous times. I finished 13th in that tournament. I probably had the bites to win. I got cut off 8 times in the first 2 days of the tournament before I figured out that you had to make sure your line wasn't going to hit wood when you set the hook.
Wow.
You'd flip into a piece of bush, and when the fish would bite, you just let them hold it and troll the motor to where you had the most open water before you set the hook.
My God.
Oh my God.
He's fishing weeds in the released area. And he deserved win.
Yeah.
He did a great job.
When it's meant to be, you're going to win. Because I remember I was a study of that event, watching it over and over, in fact. And a lot of guys had the fish on to win in that tournament. Zell Rowland, right? So many guys I think had the bites to win. It was Ken's time to win, and I think it was a great decision to fish release fish. And that, Pete, you hear that from so many guys about so many of their wins. You heard about Davey Heights, classic win, that he had stockpiled those fish. He had somebody put them there, which I think that was bullshit. Even on mine on the Delaware River, Brian the Carpenter, how many people have said, I've heard it many a times, that fish were stockpiled for me on the Delaware River.
Oh, well, that's ridiculous.
And that wasn't true.
No, that wasn't true.
So you hear that.
Mike,
you hear that.
people really said that? I hadn't heard that.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I've heard that.
They are the most wayward nomad fish on planet Earth, those fish in the Delaware River. You couldn't stock them if you wanted to, man.
They changed friggin' time zones.
It's only 7 foot twice a day.
Yeah. And that's another thing you young guys want. Do you want to put up with this bullshit? Why even want to get us? You go out, you earn this victory, this awesome victory on your home water, and people are stockpiling fish in a place with a 7-foot tidal swing. Yeah. Why? Why would you want to do that?
You got to have a thick skin in this sport. You got to have a thick skin. You got to.
Ken Cook's fish were definitely stockpiled, and they're the same stockpile that happens in every reservoir in this country.
Yeah. That's right.
He was just smart enough to fish for him.
Yep.
Zell Rowland was fishing for the other stockpiled fish too, because his spot was right out of where they had a lot of tournaments too.
He had a great story about the last day that he showed up to his spot up there in the Susquehanna, and all of a sudden on the last day on his best spot there was a scuba diver diving on his spot, and he couldn't fish and he didn't catch any fish there. And the controversy was, did somebody pay that person to scuba dive that day?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
And the scuba diver's name?
About that, though, Mike, Riz, Stockel, all you guys, Dave, I have never, ever seen a scuba diver anywhere on the Chesapeake in 20 years.
No, but you know what's funny? You know what the scuba diver's name was? Dick Garlock.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's not true.
New York and started scuba diving on the last day of the Classic.
Dick Garlock.
Yeah.
I don't know that story.
Dick
Didn't
Garlock.
Dave Mercer scuba dive for like slime down on the Chesapeake? Wasn't he like in belly deep water or something? Like
that's true. The one time. But that was just for the cameras.
Oh, he's glamming.
Yeah, he's glamming it up.
I love it. Dude,
Chris says that, Dave, you would make an awesome high school guidance counselor.
What? I would, and especially for the wayward type kids. That's what I was. I'm telling you right now, I would. But whatever. I'll just
talk to him right now, Dave.
No, I've already did.
All right, fair enough.
They know where I stand.
All right, I got
it. Frankie from Slay Nation says, Dave's advice: grab life by the handlebar mustache.
I'm working on it. Thank you.
All right, listen. I got to say this. I'm looking at my clock, dude. Time has flew, and when that happens, it means you've had a great time.
We've had fun,
dude. This was fun, Ed. It was so amazing catching up with you. I want you to promise me 2 things before I let you go here. One, when all this Corona bullshit's done, will you come back? Will you come back in studio and do a show with us again? Is that
I'm holding you to it?
Is that a no? Oh,
that's yes.
That's a yes?
Yes, he said he's going to hold us down.
Oh, you're going to hold us down. All right. So that's the first one. Second promise is I do want to fish Fairview with you eventually when all this stuff settles down. Will you fish on Fairview Lake with me?
Oh, yeah.
That's a yes, too.
I've been
All right,
promising to come to Fairview Lake for years. Come on.
All right.
Ed, just be warned, if you outfish them, you probably won't fish with them again.
You'll go home like Brian did all those years ago.
He'll take you home early.
Okay, I got one quick little story about outfishing somebody.
Oh, all right.
Okay, I drew Ron Sheffield at Grand Lake in I think it was '93, and he had won the tournament there in '92, or maybe I got the years wrong or whatever. But the year after he won the tournament, there were draw tournaments. I said, "Listen, you won here last year. We go to your we go to your fish, whatever you want to do. And he tells me, oh, well, it was real cold. There was this bad front. He says, you got to really soak the jig to catch a fish, And he's fishing these brush piles around these docks. And, and he knew where they were because he won there the year before. And he'd flip his jig into a brush pile, and they flip it in the next brush pile. And I flip my jig in the brush pile he just pulled out of and leave the thing until his boat got too far away. I had to reel it in. And I destroyed him. I caught lunker. I think I was in the top 10 after the first day. The last hour we went to my fish, and I called 3 times. And, so if you're going to tell somebody how to fish and they're going to listen, they might outfish you.
Oh, Ron. Good old Ron.
I just did what he said.
Good old Ron. Ed, people watching and listening right now, I'm going to make sure you give them 2 pieces of information. First one, I know you mentioned earlier, you got some great jigs, some great buzzbait stuff, some other stuff. They're listening and they say, man, I want to try that jig. How can they get it? What's the best way to find it?
I got everything listed I got some stuff listed on eBay. Look up Ed Cowan buzzbait or Ed Cowan jig, and you'll find it. I got a link on my Facebook page, Ed Cowan, and on Instagram, Ed Cowan 5. I got a link in my bio, or you could just message me on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll get back to you. I hope I get overwhelmed because I have a lot of time right now. Fishing.
Just make sure it's
and
Ed
I got
Cowan.
some really cool stuff here that I think is a little unique. A lot of guys build stuff at home like this, and a lot of stuff's really, really pretty and all. And I just trying to build a few things that I don't want to compete against Strike King or something. So it's mostly I'm building some niche stuff that where I reproduced a few jigs that really didn't catch on over the years, or this little buzzbait deal, kind of niche stuff that I don't think I'm really competing direct with other companies or whatever. Maybe somebody will want to produce something I've thought up in mass, and I can cash in on it. But for now, I'll be glad to hook you up with some cool baits.
I might have to order some of the jigs, man. I got a Champlain tournament coming. I might have to get some for.
I appreciate.
Yeah, and then Ed, the other thing, you still guiding? You want to give everybody information if they want to, if they're up in Pennsylvania and they want a little guide trip? You still doing some of that stuff?
Till this Corona thing gets over, I pretty much suspended. I've been right now. I'm going I take my wife out on the boat sometime, but I'm still pretty spooked until I really have a handle on this. I don't think I'm booking any trips, but
yeah, you're right there in that. You're right there in that age group, Ed. You better watch it with these people.
Oh yeah, I mean, I worked in corrections, and other than the medical profession, it's one of the hardest hit things. So
yeah, my
experience has been a little bit different than some others, but I still got some friends that are not out of the woods yet.
Yeah,
with
scary.
This, it's a pretty scary thing.
It is scary. That's super scary.
Glad you're safe, Ed.
Yeah, we're glad you're safe. Man, it's been fun. Ed, I appreciate you coming on the show. Can't wait to have you back on the show. Hopefully get together and fish together soon. And stay safe. Keep catching them. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, and I'm hoping the Ike Foundation comes off there at the end of June.
It's still scheduled. As of right now, we're still going to have it. So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
There you have it, everybody. Ed Cowan.
Thanks, Ed.
Yes.
Thanks, Ed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Man, that was awesome. That was awesome. Dude, the memories, the stories, Dave interjecting his depressing-ass facts.
Dude, you should. Rich was saying the message board's lighting him up.
That's what whiskey does. Whiskey's a depressant, Dave.
No, I speak the truth. You know that.
Always give up on the message.
Always give up.
what I've learned tonight is fuck your dreams, buy a push mower, then buy a rider so that I can drink my Founders while mowing.
Now you know what it's like to be a married father who's responsible. Just figured it out.
There's 17 to 23-year-olds all over the world right now that are quitting their dreams, Dave.
Breaking their rods.
Now listen to me right now.
Selling their rods, giving it all up.
5,000 Pop Warner quarterbacks, and one of them's going to be a Tom Brady.
Oh, my God. It's crazy.
Everyone just stop with it.
Listen, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Great first segment with Mr. Ed Cowan. Hope you learned a little bit. Want to remind you, we want to hear from you. Hit us up on the IMs. Also, if you're watching over on Facebook, please like and share the feed. If you do, you're entered in a contest to win this great Ike Live gift bag. Brian and Carpenter, we're going to take a little break.
Yes.
Listen to me. Hang in there with us. When we come back, it's going to be a good one. We're catching up with the Cajun Baby, Mr. Cliff Crochet. A lot of great stuff coming from Cliff. Also, we're going to be giving you a trivia question for a chance to win another bag. And last but not least, we're going to be doing a TH Marine review and a mystery tackle box unboxing. Hang in there with us. When we come back, more Ike Live.
4.5-inch drop shot worm. Bama bug. Finesse jig, PB&J. Give me something hard. Hey, KVD here. Now, I didn't always know this much about fishing. 4-aught EWG worm hook. In fact, there was a time when I couldn't tell the difference between a jerkbait and a stickbait. But then I signed up for Mystery Tackle Box, the original monthly tackle subscription. And now I know more about fishing than I do about calculus.
And he knows a lot about calculus.
Plus, I get amazing extras like free fishing magazines. October 2016. Featured article, 4 places to throw a frog. Exclusive decals. Zombie bass. And how-to videos for all the great baits I receive. How to tune a crankbait. Is that underwater footage I smell?
I got goosebumps.
So if you're looking to develop enhanced fishing abilities like me, or you just like getting new tackle every month, go to mysterytacklebox.com and get your box today. Ooh, live minnows. Is it lunchtime already? Nature's candy. Oh. Is he in my pocket?
There's a special place in our hearts for the tools of the trade. They're what we prep for a good day on the water. They're what we clean after a good day in the field. Flambeau's patented Z-Rust technology protects the gear of today from rust and corrosion. Z-Rust for the performance of tomorrow. Preserve, perform, repeat.
You work hard to catch your fish. TH Marine has 2 products to ensure your fish survive. The Oxygenator injects 100% pure oxygen into your live well. That increases fish survival by 35%. For the perfect combo, add G-Juice live well treatment. It calms fish, stops bleeding, removes ammonia, and replaces slime coat. Get an Oxygenator and G-Juice and keep your fish alive.
There's mine, and coming at you.
Folks at home, welcome back to Ike Live here on a Sunday, Mother's Day. Any of you moms out there watching, your mom, want to wish you happy Mother's Day. Man, it feels so good to be back here, Brian and Carpenter, with some Ike Lives weekly now.
Yes.
This is 2 Sundays in a row.
This feels nice.
We might go for 3 and 4 and 5.
Yes.
Before I hit the road back on the MILF tour.
When's that happening?
Looks like, what I want to say the first week of June, we'll be back on the road for the MILF tour, headed down to beautiful Orlando, Florida, fishing Toho chain, which is great chain, Toho Kissimmee, a lot of big bass. So I'm very excited about that.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to go down this road.
Yeah.
But when the whole conversation was happening about the Federation and the nation, when they divide it, and how neither one of them has ever been the same.
No.
I couldn't help. My mind went down that road of where we're at right now.
Right.
With this massive split.
Yeah.
And, just how all that's going to shake out and what that'll mean. I look at this was the 50th Classic. It was an amazing event, but the Classic field isn't quite the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
However, the MLF guys were still there.
Right.
So it was still an awesome Classic.
Yeah.
Next year, they're not going to be there.
Yeah.
MLF made sure they scheduled over top so you guys couldn't attend.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
So I'm like, man, what does this mean? Everybody's positioning for their
Yeah.
But as the fans, like the way the nation, that trail just went from 100 boat events
Yep.
to 18 and 25 boat events.
Yep.
What's this going to mean for the fans? How they're splintered?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
want to
know
spend
either.
too much time
No,
on it.
I
But
know.
I just kind of like.
And it's hard to guess. It's hard to guess, but in the history of sports, if you look at, like it's happened in golf, it's happened in football, it's happened in a lot of sports where, the fracturing happens and then it like finds itself and it eventually unifies again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that will happen. I think the sport will find itself,
Yeah. I hope so, man.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll all work out.
Enough of that
and,
shit.
and we will talk to, we've got Cajun Baby, the one and only Cliff Crochet, coming up here in just a little bit.
Yeah.
And for sure, we're going to talk to Cliff a little bit about some of that stuff, as well as catching up with how he's been doing in quarantine. Of course, some new additions to the family. We're going to be talking about all that stuff. Let me remind you, want to hear from you on the IMs. You're over on Facebook. Like and share it. We got a chance to win that great bag sitting back there. Also, got Riz on the line here. And Riz, I just want to ask you, any more IMs coming through about Dave's amazing positive attitude tonight?
Yeah. Fat Chris says that Dave's advice to the hotshot high school quarterback: knock up the head cheerleader and become an alcoholic.
Good call. That's a good call. Yeah. It's a good route.
Ike's slogan: never give up. Dave's slogan: what the fuck are you doing? Sell your rods and buy a lawnmower.
A little long for a tagline, but I like it. I can see James Riley creating a logo around that.
See that? They're learning. They're starting to get it.
They're coming around.
It's sinking in.
Pete, you're always positive. You're always positive, Pete.
Go pro. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Pete's positive all
here's
the
the
time.
thing.
Is it hard to listen to this?
What are you saying, Mike?
You're always positive. Is it hard to listen to Dave talk like this?
It's not hard. It's entertaining as hell.
Listen,
the beauty of all this is that all you have to do to become a pro fisherman is literally add pro fisherman in front of your handle on social media, or start a YouTube channel, or get a website if you want to really go crazy. Then you're a pro fisherman. It's that simple.
Well, I gotta be honest. Dave, of course he's overly sarcastic. I think, purposefully, but it's
naturally, not purposely.
It's a tough road to hoe. I mean, look at, like, we had Ed on. Look at all the guys that were with us, Mike, when we started.
Yeah.
Mark Schaefer. Tim Roach, the Solies. We had a whole crew from Jersey that were with us and trying to make it, and couldn't quite pull it out. We had all. It was the sponsorship, it was the family obligation. All that stuff is a factor in fishing, and I think it is a factor in anytime you're trying to make it big time. But it's about the dream, and today, you're gonna struggle no matter what you're doing. You're trying to become a vice president or president or CEO.
Yeah.
You're gonna battle dealing with really tough things in that world too, and you got a lot that you got to overcome in anything that you do. And I think the people that are in this sport are in it because they love it and they want to. It's what they think about. It's what they eat, breathe, and sleep, and they want to try to make it. And how can you begrudge somebody, that dream,
I'm not begrudging them, Pete. I'm just saying, go ahead and do it, guys. Because when you go belly up with the job I have, I'm the one going to be delivering your nylon rope you want to hang yourself.
Here's the thing, though. there's so many in 2020. There's so many opportunities to work and make some money in the sport of fishing without being a professional fisherman. Like the opportunity is there, and it might be something that we like to throw shade at a lot. The YouTube movement, the social media influencer type of people. You don't have to become a professional fisherman to have some capacity of making a living in the fishing industry. And that's something that, you can't forget about that either. Not everybody's going to become a pro.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a lot of people that, can make a decent living off of fishing in some sort of the sport.
Yeah.
And all the dreamers that are watching our podcast right now have all left to go over to watch the Googans.
That's right. They left. They're on YouTube right now. Speaking of dreaming and speaking of making it, we've got our next guest is one of the guys that dreamt it and did make it. A former police officer from a part of the world which I consider my second home, Southern Louisiana. We're joined on Ike Live again. Brian Carpenter, is Cliff probably one of the guys the most times on the show?
Certainly.
Okay, joining us again on Ike Live, a good friend of all of ours, the one and only Cajun Baby, Cliff Crochet. Cliff!
What's up,
How you doing?
What up, Cliff?
Hanging out, trying to survive, and having fun. Life is good, Michael?
Life is good. Now, listen, I was going to bring that up later in the podcast here, but I got to tell you this right now. Dude, you're the one guy, life is good. I've seen it on T-shirts. I've seen it on bumper stickers. I've seen it on hats. You've been saying that as long as I've known you, 10 plus years, however long we've known each other. Dude, I feel like you need royalties on that because you say it and you actually live by that.
Yeah, that's something I started. It just came out, but life is good. It's kind of a buffer because sometimes life is good. Well, life is good all the time, but sometimes it's just a buffer that when you want to curse or get mad or say something crazy or stupid, you can end it with life is good and get an easy exit and get out of the situation. So sometimes it's stupid, sometimes it's an exit.
Man, I probably need to say that more because I've gotten in trouble a lot over the years. But life is good for you right now. Of course, I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners, Cliff, have followed you as well. Couple new additions, and I didn't even know until Brian told me, but got the second one came home today. Talk about the new babies, Cliff. I want to hear about it. Give me an update on what's going on.
Yes, so the story is my smoking hot, beautiful wife, Sarah, gave
Happy
birth
Mother's Day,
to,
Sarah.
Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. February 27th, we had twin boys that were born healthy. Les and Jay, born February 27th. They were born at 28 weeks, so they showed up a little early. And they stayed in the hospital until Jay came home last Saturday, and we went and get Les today. And we've been lucky. Everybody's healthy. There's no health issues. They just had to meet all the marks, the body temperature, and eat enough, and no Brady's. And finally, today on Mother's Day, we got the whole crew home.
Wow.
Ben and Lee, the big boys, they all pumped up. So finally, we got all 4 boys home. And I don't know what's coming, but it's coming for sure.
Wow.
Go for one more so that you can have an entire basketball team.
Oh, that's right. I hear that joke a bunch, and no, we good. 4's good.
Cliff, I was thinking more with your size. I was thinking more of an offensive line, dude. You need one more to get that O-line. You need that center, bro.
No, we good. We got we can be team players. We got 4's enough to watch. In the grand, in the big picture, in the dream, yeah. Hopefully I got 4 football players all playing at LSU, Death Valley, right across the bayou in Baton Rouge. But
Go Tigers!
It'd be something. Go Tigers, that's right.
All right, listen, we've done a few interviews here recently. We've had Mark Daniels Jr. on. We've had a couple other pros on. And in the background, we always see Tackle Warehouse boxes or Strike King boxes. And I noticed diapers in the background.
A really big
Is this a new sponsor?
Y'all want to get personal? Check this out. Let's do it. This is the extra room, right? So we got diapers. Let me turn this around for y'all real quick. There we go. We got diapers.
God.
Work section, right? Diapers.
Wow, look at that.
I got my feds right there.
Jesus Christ, Cliff, look, you're on Hoarders.
Couple footballs from my buddy Hud Jackson at UAM, Gold Weavers. Got me the tournament trophy. I got this is everything, dude. Everything goes in a truck. Classic trophy.
Yeah, yard sale, dude.
Look at this. Got me a goose.
Got you a speckle belly.
Gross on casting blinds.
I love it.
Wow, dude.
That's like a toy.
I love it. All right, Dave Brodzik, to your whole motto tonight. There's reality right there. That's reality of life right there.
Cliff's a hoarder.
Life is not good for Dave. Life is not good.
Hey, Cliff, the only thing you're missing is about 15 cats to go with all that shit you're hoarding in there, dude.
The cats.
Hey, here's the deal. This is all a lot of this clothes and stuff and diapers and stuff. You know, you like build up and prepare for this thing of twins and 4 kids.
Wow.
I hear you.
And, you know, so we got a lot of clothes and stuff that people gave to us that's gonna be put into use. So hopefully, as time goes, this thing will get emptied out and it'll turn into some kind of cool man cave or something. But now, dude, it's all daddy daycare.
I love it. That's reality right there.
Radar says that Dave's background is darkness, just like his attitude.
I don't want Dave around. If I'm on top of bridge or something,
Nah, you do want me when you're on the bridge. I'm gonna grab you, man.
I'm gonna jump to get away from you.
But you're gonna wait. Exactly. You're gonna wish you jumped because I'm gonna lecture you about why.
I love it. 2 former police officers, both with different attitudes on life.
Hey, now, Mike, why don't I ever get that? Like, you introduced him as a former cop. Like, I don't ever get that.
Well, you know, we've mentioned that like a million times, Dave. We know you're former police officer.
Yeah, Dave, former cop. It's like, Dave, the smart-ass stormtrooper, here he is live.
The asshole of the show.
Yeah. Hey, Cliff, let me ask you something, Cliff. Since we've all been quarantined, has your drinking picked up at all?
No, man. I try not to drink at all. I mean,
what?
Try to keep my friends. So I keep the drinking to as light as possible.
I wish, because I'm gonna tell you something right now. The only immunity I've developed is an immunity to beer. I can't even drink it, man. It's just, now I gotta drink I gotta drink like 3 whiskeys.
He's had to go right to whiskey.
Just to smile at life, I gotta drink 3 of them.
All right, now I do have to address this. I know this seems like it's getting old because, you know, with everything that's going on, you know, you sort of need to talk about it. But I do want to ask you about life in quarantine because listen to this and hear me out on this, Cliff. Brian the Carpenter, hear me out on this. When all this started going down, Cliff, and you know how much I love where you live. I love your family. You know, I love that's if I wasn't in Jersey, you know where I'd be, right? When all this started going down, yeah, you know where I'd be. When all this started going down, and like me and Becky were having like a serious conversation. I can't remember. It was like I looked at her one night and I'm like, damn, I wish we were down in Louisiana by Cliffs right now, because it just seems like the most ideal place to be in quarantine. Because
nah.
Now hold on, hear me out. Hear me out on this.
Dave said, "Nah."
Hear me out on this, because, dude, I know where you live. I know that area, and with what's going on right now, it seems like nothing would be different. It seems like it would be status quo. It doesn't seem like nobody would freak out. Everybody's doing their own thing. You feel like you're isolated anyway in that part of the world, right? You know, it's not like driving through Philly or New York. Like, you know everybody. Everybody knows everybody. Is that the best place in the world? Is where you live, is that the best place in the world to live right now with what's going on?
I think it's the best time. I think it's the best place to live anytime. But especially during this whole deal of staying home, it worked out perfect. Yeah, I mean, I'm on the bayou.
Yeah.
I'm seriously on the water.
Yeah.
I got the Chafla Basin right across the levee. Yeah, it was perfect. Nothing really stopped. Everything just got better. There was more time at home, more time with the kids, more time to fish.
Right.
It was I know it's a serious deal with the virus going on, and it's a tough time and different time we've never seen before. But for me, it's been good.
Yeah.
I did a blog at Major League Fishing a couple weeks ago, and being from Louisiana in Pearport, where's that? That's the first question. Where's that at? You kind of get made fun of where you live at and how you talk and this and that. But when shit goes bad, life is good in Pearport. You know what I mean? You can have fun in the city and the cement, and that's all cool. But I've been in a boat more now than before, and I've had my kids in the boat. So it's been good. I wish I was working a little more, but it's been good.
I can close my eyes and imagine it, like, if the apocalypse hit, if fucking Corona turned into zombies, I'd want to be in Pierre Part. I want to be at one of the camps. I want to have that P-row, a couple shotguns. You know what I mean? It just seems like the perfect place to live when the shit's hitting the fan. It seems like the perfect place to live.
Hey, Cliff, how's that sound? Defending the home front against zombies with Mike wearing like a white leather belt, Chuck Taylor's with a shotgun in his hand. How's that? You feel safe, Cliff?
I would not want to be 10-8 with Michael.
Roger that. You'd be. Yeah.
That is not code 4. You probably you might end up 10-7 in that situation.
I'll tell you right now, I'm going to the Vermont, New Hampshire, Canadian border. That's where next chunk of change I get, I'm buying land up there.
Canada's taking your guns.
Yeah. No, I'm going to be on the border. I'm still going to be USA, but I'm going to probably look into starting a militia in the next 5 or 6 years.
Oh my God! Scouts are checking in.
It'd be a nice militia. It won't be like a racist one or anything like that. It'd be one, just in case this stuff happens again.
One for the common man.
Just come up here and we'll make sure everything's squared away. Everyone's going to have a job.
No one's fishing.
No, there's going to be some fishing.
No dreaming.
Somebody's got to feed the group.
No dreaming.
If you're trying to become a professional fisherman, I'll kick you right out of the militia.
Is somebody better because they couldn't make it?
Yeah.
No, someone's realistic because they couldn't make it like almost everywhere else that tried, Cliff. You're one of the 1%ers, so you're not even, your opinion's not even.
So we can all go live in Jonestown.
No.
Dave's
Provincetown.
Dave Brodzik.
There's no Kool-Aid in my place. All right.
Dave Brodzik, I'm going to give you proof that Cliff made it. Not because he has won bass events and because he fishes Major League Fishing. But here's a little known fact. I don't know if we've ever brought this up on Nike Live, but I want to mention it right now. The day you know you've made it is when you have a breakfast sandwich named after you.
What?
And you receive royalties off of that breakfast sandwich.
Get out.
Damn it! I ain't even got a damn sandwich named after me.
Wow, Cliff. You got a McMuffin?
Talk about that sandwich, Cliff.
I got a Cajun Baby. Well, I had a Cajun Baby sandwich at a place called Bayou Eats. Some things took a downturn. The place is no longer there, but at one time, I did have a sandwich. Yeah, I'm looking at the comments here. I see Kenneth Sears talking about if I did any gator hunting. I never did any gator hunting, but if you go to my Facebook page or my Instagram page, my oldest boy Ben, who's 4, caught an alligator on a rod and reel Friday. We reeled him in. He's about a 3-footer. We got him in, taped his mouth up, and we played the alligator for about 30 minutes, and then we let him go. True story.
Dang.
Wow.
Dang.
Gator bites for days. I am a little jealous of that I am jealous of the sandwich. I would love to have a sandwich.
What would be on your sandwich? No,
What was
wait,
on
I
the
already
sandwich,
know.
Cliff?
Mike's sandwich would
Sandwich. The sandwich was bacon, egg, and cheese.
It was,
bacon,
and
egg,
it was
and cheese on
good.
toast.
And it was
It was
good.
good.
That's it.
It was good. No, the way they cooked it was good. Good. It was a good sandwich. What would be on mine, Brian?
All right, so Mike's sandwich, Dave, if you remember from back in the day when Mike would bring his sandwich to bring his lunch to school, he had the little Ziploc bag, and inside it was 2 pieces of white bread and ham. That was it.
Yeah.
No, there was cheese on there, wasn't there?
Did you have cheese?
Yeah, I had ham and cheese on there.
He had 1 slice of cheese.
Yeah, I had a slice of
But
cheese.
there was no mustard.
And it
there
was
no-
government cheese.
Yeah, government cheese. There was no mustard. There was
His
no
mom would
mayo.
pack it in his mom would pack it in like an aluminum Three's Company lunch pail.
Yeah, and he would call pressed ham, and every day at the lunch table he would take it out and he'd smash the ham sandwich like that. He would beat it flat and eat it. It was pressed ham. Beat the fucking thing flat.
Now, Brian and Mike, we've known each other for well over 35 years. I never had lunch with you guys in school. Remember, they segregated our classes based on IQ back then. Remember that? I never got to eat with my friends.
You were at the table with extra security guards around.
I was at the table where you had to ask for permission to go to the bathroom.
This is true.
That is true. All right, Cliff, I mentioned it earlier, and here we are. Everyone's, I got to say, going a bit stir crazy. I think the whole world's gone stir crazy. Been sort of quarantined at home. But recent announcements in the last couple days on every tour, right? We've got BASS announcing their full schedule, extension through October. We've got FLW announcing, and then, of course, Major League Fishing announcing how their season's going to play out. What do you think about all that? I want to get your opinion. I mean, obviously, you got to be excited to get back to compete again. I know I am. I'm excited to get back, and this is what we do, right? So it's exciting to be back. But give me and remember this, Cliff. This is like live. You can lie on other podcasts. You can lie on Pat Renwick's show because he's too nice. You cannot lie on this show. And
He's listening, Mike.
Yeah, that's okay. I want you to give me the honest truth, right? I know you're excited to get back, but what do you think about how the MLF schedule's playing out here? What's your opinion?
The MLF schedule, like you said, I'm ready to get back to work. I'm excited to get back to work. I wish we had more tournaments. I wish we had more MLF Bass Pro Tour tournaments to fish this year.
Yeah.
That's not the case. They got some guys that's going to fish FLW. Some guys view that as a good opportunity. Some would take that option. But I'm looking to get back to 2021 and a full schedule at Bass Pro Tour without all this craziness going on. I think the league is in a hard spot. Yeah. They're doing what they think they have to do what's best for the league and for the fishermen, and that's all you can ask for. But it's just it's a weird situation. You do what you got to do and make the best of it, and life is good.
Yeah. Does it pitch? And I mean, I'm saying this because I'm not asking you to say anything that because I feel it myself. And I'm being honest. When Bass announced their rescheduling, and they announced a full tour rescheduling, all the way extended through the fall, and then MLF said, we're gonna give you 2 more, and then sprinkle maybe a cup in there. I was kind of mad because I feel like our tour season was taken away. And again, I know there's opportunity to fish FLW and all that, but kind of got pissed off. I mean, I kind of look at Bass and I'm like, damn, I wish MLF would do that, right? I want to fish my whole tour. Has that crossed your mind at all?
Yeah, I was disappointed not to have more tournaments. Of course, I want to fish a full 8.
Right.
But that's what they gave us, and we'll say the virus hit us, and it was a virus deal, and I just hope to get those events back. They told us that's what they could do, and all you can do is trust somebody and and go wide open forward, you know, in one direction. So yeah, I want it more, but you know, they're telling us that's they did what they can do. So that, you know, we'll go to Florida, try to make some money, do the best we can for our sponsors for, you know, from here on out, and hopefully we get them. I like to see those 4 tournaments come back on the schedule down the road.
Right.
You know, Bass Pro Tour has been good to us.
Yeah.
And giving us opportunities we hadn't had before. So, and yeah, I think they've always shot us straight and been pretty transparent. So I think once we get through these weird times, that it'll all be good.
Right. So can I assume then you're not going to fish the super tournaments, the FLW super tournaments?
You know, I'm not sure right now. The plan would be to win a bunch of money on the Bass Pro Tour and stay home with my family the rest of the year and work for sponsors. But I don't know. That's a conversation that I've had, and I'm gonna keep having it again this week. And it's an option. I don't know if I'll take it or not, but I'll know more this week.
Right.
Cliff,
right.
Ed's Radar on the message board wants to know what are some of the things that you use to fuel your optimism? Like, how do you stay so positive all the time?
How do I stay so positive all the time? Well, outside it seems positive. Sometimes inside it's a lot of chaos going on. But what else would it be? Like, I mean, you have to be realistic at some time, but you can't. I mean, anything is possible. So let it ride, baby. Have fun. You know, work hard and let it fly and see where it goes. I guess the biggest deal is, you know, like, why not? I ask myself, why not? A bunch, but like, you talk about qualifying for the Classic or making the elites or fishing Bass Pro Tour, whatever the situation is. I can tell you, you know, 1,000 reasons why it wouldn't work, but why not? Why? Tell me why it cannot work, and until I get a reason of why it can't work. Let it ride, you know. Y'all was talking earlier with Ed Cowan, and old Dave was talking about being realistic and stuff. But I know some dudes at home that are better fishermen than me, good dudes, good friends of mine. But they couldn't see. They couldn't see further than the tip of their boat, and you know, it wasn't. They didn't think about how far it could go. There was always a reason to shut it down. And, you know, shit, why not? Let it fly, man. Wide open. See how far it goes. Run it till it blows up.
But, Cliff, if I can just maybe expand on that and defend myself a little bit. No, listen. It's more than just being able to cast. I can go cast for cast with anybody. Ask people to fish with. But there's more than that. There's the whole business side of it that you guys have that the rest of us don't. And don't short sell yourself on being able to make yourself a promotable person, because you are. Mike is, Skeet is, Kevin is, Gerald is, like all the greats are. And not many people can do that. That's the element that people don't understand. It's not going cast for cast. You know, I'll put my backhand with a spinning rod up against anybody in the country.
Fact.
In terms of accuracy. But I can't sell myself. Nobody wants to buy me. You know?
Now that is a part of it, but I see what you're saying. But to the optimism part and come up with a plan, have fun, let it fly, and it'll all be good.
Well, to your point, Dave, though, I mean, that's the case with all the sports. Like, look at like Dave's really into the MMA and the UFC. It's like, the money goes really to the guys that can trash talk the best these days. You know, it's the marketability, that component that's just such a big factor. And Mike, I remember talking to you about this in our sport. You know, it's not just good enough to win, but you got to win in such a fashion that people remember you.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's what you're so good at, Mike. When you won the Classic and you know, screaming like a crazy man, grabbing your jersey, just losing your mind in such a way that it's unforgettable, you know? And, you know, that's, you know, the rough part to handle is, yeah, you're right, Dave. It's not just about being able to cast and catch them and make good tournament decisions, but you got to be, you got to have that something else that people will never forget.
Yeah,
you know,
was Jeff Gordon the best at making left-hand turns, or selling product? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's part of it.
Tournament decisions, but you got to be. Hey, you're talking about Mike winning the classic and going crazy, and I guess maybe we're going off subject here, dude. But as much as it's about selling stuff and fishing, is that competition, is having that, you know, that rush. It's about that high. It's about the fall too. You got to love the fall and enjoy the high. Just the whole competition, dude. It was worth it for me. I love it. I love it. I can't get enough of it. I hate to. I enjoy feeling good after a tournament. I hate feeling bad. Each one fuels itself. Oh my God! Between tournament fishing, my 4 kids, and eating too many ball crawfish today, I'm about to start sweating and talking about it.
I've had one more. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, I've had a couple crawfish bowls at Cliff's house, and
yeah,
it's a lot of food coming through, and it's good. It's good.
Cliff, I got a question for you. Just Brian's ghost on the message board. 1 T or 2?
What's that, man?
1 T or 2 T's?
For what?
Crochet.
1 T.
All right, good. I got it right.
It's like you crochet a blanket.
Yep.
Just like
All
you
right,
crochet a blanket.
Back to you.
I wanted to jump in a little bit and expand on what Pete said and what Dave said, which is, Cliff, this strange time right now, right? Tournament fishing has been taken away from us, like other sports. The actual competition's been taken away. And I've sat back a little bit and watched guys. Some of them have literally disappeared off the face of the earth. I mean, and I won't mention any names, but I mean top MLF pros, Bass pros, FLW guys that have disappeared with the virus. And other guys have stepped it up during this time. And I got to give you credit, Cliff, real quick, and I want you to talk about it. Your social media presence has really, really, really stepped up since all this has happened. Talk a little bit about that, because I think there's a lot of guys watching that feel irrelevant right now, but there's ways you could stay relevant. I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, appreciate the compliment. Yeah, we talk about tournament fishing and making it and going all back to Ed Cowan's story. You got to do more than just fish. There's only about 3 or 4 people that can fish and make money. I'm not that good just to fish and make money. So I've been taught and I've watched and I've learned, and I've been lucky enough to work with some people that have helped me out, and I have a little bit common sense. And I work with some good companies that tell me what they want, and I enjoy working for them, and they enjoy having me. And it's just you got to stay relevant. You got to stay out there. Fishing is only part of it, and it's not so much. Selling's a big part of it, but just being in that lifestyle and having people come in and watch and having fun, and it's almost providing entertainment. You know, you fish a tournament on this week, but you entertain it and you teach them the next week, and it all just it's one big ball of tournament fishing. And to the dudes that have vanished and not taking advantage of this situation, hell, I hope they don't take advantage of it. None. Be silent. We'll take care of the fans. Be silent.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Listen, hey, Mike and Cliff. Let me just compliment you guys on something. And for the people watching and listening, if you haven't watched the MLF podcast yet with Mike and Cliff on there, it's an absolute must watch. You get to see Mike and Cliff in ways that now, Cliff, I've only been around you personally twice, but Mike, I've known my whole life. You guys came off so genuine and authentic on that podcast. It was I think that's what both you guys are missing in terms of like making something work. You guys should do something together in terms of trying to figure out a show, something like that, you know? Because the two of you guys complement each other very well, and it shows on that podcast.
Yeah, and I got to add to that, the Going Ike that we did, Cliff, is still one of the highest views Going Ike episodes ever. So maybe Dave's right.
I'm all in. I'm all in, baby.
Now I'm right all of a sudden, Cliff. When I shoot you a compliment. Now I'm
what corny ass podcast on the left of?
Hey, you talking about that podcast we did with Major League Fishing in the Ike Live and stuff? You talking about being real? I'm gonna tell you, it is what it is, baby. I ain't got enough time to be playing no character. I don't know if I'm smart enough to come up with nothing. It is what it is. This is it right here. Whether we're at an event and you're a fan in the crowd or whatever, Ike Live. This is Cliff all day, every day.
Yeah, like Pete. It took Pete like 3 years to come up with the Dean. It took Kevin like 3 or 4 years to come up with KVD. But Cliff came up with Cajun Baby in like a minute. He was like, Cajun Baby. That's it.
So
smartest, stupidest thing I ever came up with.
How'd you come up with Cajun Baby? How'd that happen?
Well, I'll tell you the story. I'll tell you the short version of the story. It was 2008. I fished the Bass Open in 2007, 8, and 9. Qualified in 09 to get my career started. But I was in Palaca, Florida, St. Johns River. I love that place. And it was the first Open of the year. I think Peter T won it. And I had just got a check. You got to understand, at this time, 2008, I'm still working for the sheriff. I ain't got no money. Who cares? Life is good, having fun. And I got me a check. First check I'd ever gotten in a bass tournament. And I was all pumped up. I was about to be the next big thing in bass fishing. And so I'm in Palaca, and I walk down the hill to get me a hamburger from the little stand they got right there.
Hamburger, not a cheeseburger?
I said, I need a hamburger. And she said, you must be from Louisiana. I said, yeah, let me guess. You can tell the way I talk. And she said, oh, yeah, the way y'all talk is funny and great and this and that. So I said, all right, thank you. Here's my hamburger. Here's $5, whatever. And I'm driving home. About to be the next big the next big thing in bass fishing, or so I thought, And so I'm on the phone. My buddy's telling him I got a check, and I'm all pumped up and excited. And the next classic, I was in 08, so the classic in 09 was in New Orleans. I'm sorry, Shreveport in Louisiana. So I think I'm about to make the classic. I'm all pumped up. I'm so pumped up. I got a check, and I'm coming out with this. I'm just driving on I-10 coming home, and I'm thinking about how I'm gonna put this together and make it worth something, And dude, I'm so far from doing anything at this point, But when you have a good tournament, you get all pumped up. So I'm coming up with this name because all the big guys in the sport at the time, you had Ike and Ish and Big Show and Hack Attack, and I'm kind of sarcastic and a small ass at times. I said, well, I'm gonna get me a name, so when I make it big, I'll have me a name or a call sign, something to
call sign.
That's super smart, man.
Call sign Viper.
The original plan was gonna be CBI, Cajun Baby Incorporated,
God, dude.
And then my buddy Jason Pittman, good buddy of mine, he said, "Man, the Incorporated deal don't sound cool. It's a bit too much." So we just came up with Cajun Baby Fishing, or the Cajun Baby. So I was in Baton Rouge at another buddy of mine, Ken Sherman's shop, front to back boat service. He used to rig all my boats and stuff. And we was talking and clowning, and he said, "Man, you ought to put that on the, on your name on the side of the boat." I was like, I don't know. Well, he said, "Just do it. It can't hurt." And I did it. And in 2010, I qualified to fish 2010 Classic, so I brought that with me. And it was Keith Allen and Hank Weldon and that whole crew that was doing media stuff. and got a picture of it on the website. And Keith Allen got a hold of it. I rode through the arena on the first day. And called me the Cajun Baby Cliff Crochet, and it stuck ever since. So
yeah,
calling card, smartest, stupidest thing I've ever come up with.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's that's the deal. Remember, Mike, you and I Mike's not there, but we used to have this conversation back in the day. Like when we started, the way that guys would brand themselves was through technique. And guys like Denny Brower was the flipping guy. David Fritz was the cranking guy. And, Zell Rowland was the top order guy, right? So the guys that's how they branded themselves. And then it changed, and it seemed like Skeet was like, I think the first one that just had that cachet attached to his name and just help people recognize them, help people connect with them.
Pete was the dead stick guy.
Well, I was the dry white toast guy that didn't have a name. And Mike never helped me out.
Dry white toast.
How about hook me up?
Crusty white toast.
I needed something. People need something to hang on to, so that they remember you. Cajun Baby. That's an amazing name. It's going to take you through the rest of your career.
Toast.
I hope so. But I tell you this, I think the game. It's like I started following fishing in '95, right? And it was very plain. And then we had characters, Mike and Skeet, and even Kevin's attitude and Hack Attack's demeanor and attitude and Tharp. And I mean, it's evolved, but I think society has evolved too a little bit where it's okay to have personality. You know what I mean? At one point, it was almost
negative.
It was cool to be like. I mean, just look at the pictures, and I guess it was the times where these dudes wore. It looked like they were going to church or something, it was just very plain, and now, it's grown. I mean, some people wanted to kill Mike because he fast forwarded it real fast. But like, it's okay to be personable and cool and have fun, I guess, or just be yourself. So I'm thankful for the people that came before and loosened it up and have fun and make it more than just fishing, man. Make it just hang out.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's a good sport. It's definitely evolved over the years.
I got to say, Cliff's been with the Bass University for a lot of years, done a lot of great seminars, and you keep it real, and I love that about it. And you gave a seminar about shallow water fishing, and it's so cool because you say that you criticize yourself. Like, how many times am I going to drive past a bridge and not fish it, and then Randy Howe's going to go win the classic right there? How many times am I going to do that? And it's great how you keep it real. You tell people exactly how you feel and when you make mistakes and how to keep it simple.
If to a certain point, if you can make fun of yourself and let people make fun of you too, they kind of enjoy that. And it's honesty, Ain't nothing wrong with being honest, baby.
Word.
All right, let me remind everybody watching and listening right now, if you've got questions or comments for Cliff, please hit us up on the IM. Also, if you're watching over on Facebook or if you're on social media, send us the question through Ike Live Show. One last chance also, if you're over on Facebook, like and share the feed, and you're entered to win this amazing Ike Live gift bag loaded with product. It weighs 20 pounds. I'm not kidding you. I'm telling you, I've been lifting. That's 20 pounds at least, at the very least. Rizzo, what do we got coming through the IMs? We got anything? Give some good stuff to Cliff. We don't need no softballs. We need hardballs.
Well, we got a lot of comments still directed towards Dave.
Oh, you know what, you fucking cunts. What do you got?
The negativity has sparked IMs, Dave.
Dave's high school guidance counselor says, according to Dave, lawnmowers that run and death metal were the keys to his happiness.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Speaks. I won't speak the truth no more. You know, follow your dreams. Never give up. You know, right?
Keep happening.
Dave, have you had the conversation with Boyd yet that goes a little bit like this? Fuck the season. Give up.
I thought you were going to say, I'm sorry. Remember we had the
I do remember that one.
Yeah. Trying to get sued by him, dude.
Oh, man.
Talk about keeping it real.
Wow.
Talk about keeping it real.
Yeah, hold on. Cliff, I got a question, Cliff. Like, what kind of, like, you know, being a cop, being that you were a cop, what kind of, like, stuff do you still consume that's law enforcement related? Like, do you go on any, like, YouTube channels, listen to any podcasts or anything?
Nah, I got a buddy of mine that's still in the game, and we kind of talk a few stores and stuff, but I try not to consume it, man. That's a sick world, and the dudes that work in that world are probably going to heaven, most of them. That's a sick world, dude. When I stepped out, they can have it. They can keep it. I don't want it at all no more.
Yeah,
no interest in following any of it, huh?
Nah, as close as I try to get into law enforcement now is I watch Blue Bloods and I watch In the Heat of the Night. And that's as much as I try to be involved with law enforcement.
Christ, Archie Bunker's been dead for like 14 years. I didn't know his real name.
Bill Gillespie. I love Bill Gillespie.
Look at you, though.
Archie Bunker.
That's an updated version, Dave.
Yeah, how crazy is it? Two cops here, and I'm the guy that had a video on Live PD.
I know. How funny is that, dude?
You know that, Cliff?
Cliff, the White Van IPA wants to know: are you in favor of going out west for the MLF at some point? Places like Havasu, the Delta, Meade, Clear Lake.
Yes, go.
Yeah, I go out west. The only thing we got to do if we go out west is we got to make it worth the trip. You know, we got to have a couple tournaments to make it worth the trip. But yeah, I'd go to the moon to fish a tournament if I had to.
I love that attitude. And Arizona Justin wants to know, what's your favorite bait to throw, Cliff?
My favorite bait to throw. I got too many of them.
I know the answer to this.
It's a frog.
Yeah, I was right.
I like the frog, and I like to punch max. Whole bunch.
Who's better at frogging, you or Ish?
I must say me, but we're kind of different froggers too a little bit. You know what I mean?
Tell us about that.
Yeah, really.
We're a little bit different. We're a little bit different.
But Ish runs across the street faster? Like what? How? Remember the video game? Remember the video game Frogger? I don't know. Sorry. Go ahead.
Isham is a grasser, man. A grass fisherman a lot. He fishes a lot of grass. And he does some open water stuff too. But if I had my choice, I would totally stay away from grass and skip more. So I think that's how we differ. But I tell you what, I'll let Dean and Ish argue over 1 and 2. I'll be 3. That's fine. Whatever. It's all good.
I got Ish number 1, Dean number 3 behind you, Cliff.
Let me hold on. Let me tell you something I picked up, and I picked this up from. I picked one of these things is from Mike. He asked me about what's my favorite technique, and here's what I've learned. My favorite technique is skipping probably a snag-proof frog undercover, throwing that on my new Cash King Spirale rod with Seaguar braid and a Cash King Bassinator Elite reel. Really thick cover, put it in high percentage areas, and I think that gives me the best chance of catching big fish. But I thank you for that question. That's a really good question. And if you check that out, I'm sure you catch a few more fish.
Wow, that was the correct answer. That was right, Cliff. That was the right way to answer that.
Steady learning, trying to. I'm always listening.
I'm as you guys are talking, I'm trying to catch up on some of our questions coming through social media. I've got one here on Instagram for you, Cliff, from Bill Bixby. And the question is, if MLF brings back entry fees next year, will you continue to fish MLF or go back to bass?
If MLF brought back entry fees or brought entry fees to the table, will I stay at MLF or go back to bass?
Yes, from Bill Bixby.
Is next year the end of the contracts?
No, there's one more year.
3-year contract.
We got one more year. Okay.
3 year on the contract. That's a loaded question, but I won't duck it. I don't.
That's right,
No
Cliff.
pun
You don't have the FU money that Ike and Ellie has on his made-up question.
I will
take the fifth.
I don't know. Hey, I tell you, I committed to Bass Pro Tour. I like the things we're doing. I'm committed to that league. Bass does some good stuff. We'll see how it goes. But I enjoy my time at Bass Pro Tour. I really do.
All right.
All right.
That's a good one. That's a good answer.
That's not a good one. That's a terrible answer.
No, it's not.
Thank you, Pete.
What are you talking about?
That's the Gluzek I know right there.
No, but here's the thing, and this is all hypothetical, so I'm not trying to start any shit or anything. This is all hypothetical. If MLF did bring back entry fees, hypothetically, the contract that you signed, Cliff, would be null and void because it breaks the contract. So you could probably go anywhere you wanted to go.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a big hypothetical. Hypothetically, who knows what could happen, but I took it. Here's the deal. I went to Bass Pro Tour to check that out. I've enjoyed my time there. I can see myself spending some time there. Bass is an option that'll be there for a while, or maybe forever. Who knows? I think Bass Pro Tour will be around for a while. Right now, all my energy is at the Bass Pro Tour, and that's where it's at for now. I'm enjoying my time there, and I think we got a good thing going. I think we got some momentum we could build on. So
I
think we got some good stuff going over there.
Yeah.
The best way to handle a difficult question like that, Cliff, you got to go back to your police work, is to throw it right back at the question asker in the form of a question.
Yeah.
Like, what would you do?
What would you do, Mike, in that situation?
Well, I can't answer that. But I can go through. I've got one more. I wanted to hit Instagram and Facebook, so I wanted to make sure I hit both of them. And we've got Dave Wozniewski over on Facebook, whose question is
Mike Wozniewski, Mike.
Yeah, but I know, but this is Dave. What do you want me to do? I can't make the name up. Dave Wozniewski says, is it right for MLF to schedule a BPT tour event over top of the Classic next year?
Is it right for Bass Pro Tour to schedule an event on top of the Classic next year? I don't know. You tell me.
Now here's your advice. Why do you have to suggest that?
I can tell you this. Some people might think it's right. Some people might think it's wrong. I don't know. I guess we'll leave that up to everybody to answer for themselves,
Let me tell you something, Cliff. Cliff, if you ever went back to bass, like I actually somehow got into the media event this year, and I got to walk around all the boats. It looked like the Yale lacrosse team was there. Like you would have been a star. All right, you would have stood out amongst a sea of like flowerless buds. Like you would have been the guy, man. All right.
Yeah, I mean it does.
Flowerless buds.
Yeah, but Dave, that may have been extreme, but it does bring up a good point, Cliff, which is, and I have to ask you this: do you at any point have you ever regretted not staying at Bass? Because, when you look at it, and again, MLF, I see all them, they're doing some amazing things. They really are. They're progressing the sport forward. No entry fees is the deal. What the exposure they get on Discovery is unbelievable. I love the format of the event. There's so many positives. But at some point, do you ever sit back and say, what if I stayed at Bass? for your brand, for sponsorships, because you would have sort of been the golden boy there, right? You were already an established name with an established brand, and they probably would have pushed that and elevated that. Have you ever had that thought, or you ever think about that at all?
Yeah. If I told you I didn't, I'd be lying.
Yeah.
I've thought about it before, and I weighed that option before I made my decision. The one thing that I really liked and I really enjoyed the thought of was how we could advance the sport with no entry fees,
right?
More exposure,
that
type of stuff. And we trying, it's working. We just got to keep going. If it works, I think the anglers win. If it doesn't work, which I do see it working, but if it don't work, you just go back and you say we tried. But I think it was a good investment. I mean, I invested my career to a certain point. You invested your career, your name.
Yeah,
we all did, and we did for the opportunity to do things such as no entry fees, new lakes, more exposure, that we thought was good for us and good for the game. If it works, which I think it will, it was a good move. If not, we'll go from there.
Yeah.
But I think it was time for the anglers to take a shot and try to make some stuff happen.
Yeah.
And I've been satisfied so far, but here's the deal. If we didn't try, we can't sit back and gripe about entry fees and payouts or whatever and this and that. We had to take a shot. But let me tell you this. With that being said, I have thought about what happens if I would have stayed at Bass. Who knows? Whatever. What if I went and broke up with my girlfriend in 2002? Shit, who knows? You gotta let it fly, let it run, and then you see what happens.
Yeah.
I would tell you this. I had some good times at Bass, met some great people, had some fun, whatever. I'm not anti anybody, but I'm having fun with basketball tour. I think we've changed the game to a certain point for the better.
Yeah.
And you got to let it ride, baby. You got to see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And you bring up a good point, and we've said this before on other podcasts, on other shows, is that you got to remember, people have to remember that whole thing happened, right? 80 guys left, the MLF formed because stuff at Bass wasn't right. You know what I mean? So it's not like we all went off on a whim. We all left Bass to try to better the sport, right? And so you got to always keep that in perspective. And regardless what happens in 1, 2, 3 years, I think we've had a positive impact on the sport, because even Bass has had to try to pick up their game, and I think it was a good thing that it happened.
That what you just said right there is important to me.
Yeah,
I think it works. I think we're doing good things. I think we've grown the sport. If it works, it works. If it don't, finally the anglers pushed the limits and made something happen for anglers all across the sport. You know what I mean? It's not an anti thing, dude. We just pro what we doing, and by the 80 guys that made that move forced other people to get better, I think, throughout the industry.
Yeah. Yep. I'd agree.
No entry fees has never happened before.
Never.
And it exists now for 2 years, 2.5. Well, and it is changing things. It's changing the way that the other tournaments are looking at things.
Yeah,
it's my.
You were talking about that forever, Pete. You were talking about that before it was even a thing, man.
Well, when I was knee deep in it, and my whole income and everything I was doing, was based on tournament fishing. We knew it. We knew it forever, Mike.
Yeah.
We've been dealing with this stuff forever. The big thing was for us that, all right, well, you qualify for the elites, you qualify for the top level tour, and as an award, you get a $75,000 bill. You know, that was what you won.
Congratulations. Pay
me. Congratulations, pay me. Now go out and try to hustle sponsors.
Yeah.
Go out and try to figure out how to get that revenue.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh my gosh, and the whole time you're trying to become an angler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're trying to win. You're fighting that, that drive inside you that loves the sport and you want to achieve. But that money thing's just there. So I think it was an amazing thing that the Bass Pro Tour MLF did with the no entry fees. That was innovative, monumental.
Yep. Good thing. In the long run, I said it before, I'll say it again, 5, 10, 15 years from now, you can look back on it and say it was an important time in the sport. Pete, you addressed something real quick right there, which is sponsors, new sponsors. Cliff, I got to put you on the spot here on this. You had some sponsor changes. A lot of anglers, when they lose a sponsor, when they lose a company they work with, and I've worked with Dick's Sporting Goods, and I've worked with Team Daiwa. I've worked with a lot of great companies that, for whatever reason, I had to part ways with. A lot of anglers they fall with that loss. They lose a sponsor and they just nosedive. You've had some sponsor changes, and I think you've done the other thing. You've actually excelled with some of your new sponsors. Talk to me a little bit about that, because we got guys, aspiring pros right now listening. I think this is a good thing to talk about. How did that whole process work? How are you doing such a good job with the conversion? Switching, going to a new company or switching and having success.
Yeah, that's a 2-hour conversation. I like to think I've done a good job in the sponsor game. The biggest deal is to be real and work with companies that are good products, good people, that give you ability to get your name out there and do your job and can support you. And then once you build that brand and stuff, then you have opportunities to, people want to work with you. And I've been lucky enough to work with some really good companies. This year I made some changes. I started running a Blazer 650 Pro Tour, which is a new Mercury outboards, which was a new motor for me. But I've kept a lot of the long-term partners. Bill Lewis Outdoors and Rattle Trap and Power Pole. Seaguar's been there for a while. I've added Cash King, which is rods and reels. All when companies need to grow and you can grow with them, that's the best thing. That's something you hear a lot of guys that've been in the game for a while tell you. If you can grow with the companies, that's the game. That's the point. When you can get with companies and help them grow, and you can help them and they can help you.
Yeah.
That's when it really pays off, and it's good for both people.
Yeah.
I will tell you about a couple cool deals I got going on, a couple new companies.
Yeah.
Real new companies.
Let's hear about
them. 2 of them. First one is Crusher Lures. We came out with a Crusher Lures, does jigs, spinner baits, buzz bait, wire baits.
That looks good.
This was one we just put together. This is a Cliff Crochet signature series. This is a petite spinner bait. That's petite is French for small. And
Dave Broderick knows that. His penis is petite.
We put this one together. We put this one together. Small spinner bait, small compact spinner bait, but we wanted enough weight to throw it. So that's a new one. And then one we announced tonight, right before we came on, was Vector hooks. Treble hooks, big nasty, extra wide gap, heavy gauge hooks.
Ooh.
Those are 2 companies I'm excited about. Crusher's been around for a while. Vector's just breaking in, but we got some good stuff. They let me do some good projects, and I'm excited about them. I'm excited about working with those companies to grow them. Dude, that's fun. That's like watching your kids grow a little bit. When you can really get with a company and help them grow. That's fun to see. That's fun to be a part of.
I like it. And I want to just add to that. Cliff, I want to appreciate you for wearing my logo all year this year. We've got, I know I've noticed it on your boat. I noticed it on your truck and your jersey. Brian the Carpenter patched us through here so we can get everybody to see it. There it goes. Cliff's wearing my logo. Round of applause. Thank you, Cliff. You didn't have to wear the Ike logo. You didn't have to put the Ike logo on your boat. I mean, it's so over the top. Thank you, though, man.
That was, how did I know that was coming?
Sorry, Cliff.
Hey, but I got the paperwork. I'll text it to you. Let me give me 1 minute here.
Cliff has left the building. Dave's taking a leak.
I have the United States of America, United States Patent and Trademark Office paperwork. If we can compare later on down the way.
Okay, that's a deal.
That is hey, see that's part of the good thing about tournament fishing, man. Hey, you know you poke here, you throw a jab there. You know, it's all cool.
Yeah. No, we're just kidding. It's all in fun. Unless you're Brent Chapman, then you're a douchebag. Let's see. What do we got next here? Thank you. I'd like to.
I've got a trivia question.
Oh, we got a trivia question. Cliff, and you could actually get in on this, Cliff. Stay around with us. We have no problem, Cliff, if you get this trivia question. We have no problem sending you this tackle bag. It's 20 pounds. I'm telling you, it's 20 pounds if it's an ounce. And you know with weights of fish, I'm always dead on. So I'm telling you, this is 20 pounds if it's an ounce, okay?
That's right.
All right, Brian DeCarpenter, the trivia question of the night for everybody watching is...
Cliff, how did Ed Cowan catch his fish in Disney?
Ed Cowan, how did he catch his fish in Disney?
Yeah.
Is that the trivia question?
No. It's
That was
Oh.
God, I think I'm right. He caught him on a jointed jackal crankbait.
Oh. I think that's right.
Could
a
be.
knuckle something. It's called a knuckle deep.
All right.
Knuckle deep.
We'll give you a free logo. But the question is...
that wasn't the real question. What's the real question?
What nation angler lost the classic by 1 ounce due to a dead fish penalty?
Ooh.
I know that.
Dude, hold on.
So
y'all not hear what I say? I've been a bass junkie since '95.
Uh-oh.
Bobo lost to Dion Hebden, on Lake Logan Martin. Dalton Bobo was fishing brush piles with a straight tail worm.
Ooh.
Well, there you go.
And he quit
Is
his
that
job.
right?
Dalton Bobo in 97.
Wow.
So everybody watching, you don't get the win?
No, Cliff wins. Yes. Wow. Congratulations, Cliff.
That's right.
Hey, appreciate it. I got to jump into the messages here. I know I'm taking jobs from Brian, and I just got to jump around.
Riz might be fired after this.
Yeah.
But check
Hopefully
this
Beck's
out.
not watching.
Vector hooks they wanted to let everybody know we got a Cliff Crochet signature series flipping hook and frog hooks coming out.
Oh.
Be on the looking for that.
Frog
And I
hook.
see
that message.
And I see Alfred talking, says 4 a.m. gets here fast. I'm with you, Alfred. I appreciate you staying up with us, baby. I'm gonna do the 2 o'clock feeding and the 5 o'clock feeding. So I'm with you. Just if you stick with me, I'll stick with you. When you get up at 4, I'll be right between shifts. So
Yeah.
but I do appreciate you getting up and going to work every morning. Thank you very much.
Man, I love it. And let me tell you, the signature hooks, Cliff, I think I would buy those because a flipping hook and a frogging hook with your name on it, I would buy. Now, if you tried coming up with a drop shot hook with that company, that'd be bad. That'd be really bad.
Yeah, we'll leave that to somebody else. Not worth it. Let me tell you a story about drop shotting and finesse fishing real quick. 1 year when I made, and this was documented on TV. I seen on
TV is the
ESPN.
devil.
When we go to finesse waters and we finesse fishing, I borrow people. I use favors to tie my leaders, and braid to fluorocarbon. And every time I go finesse fishing, I spend hours on the phone with my little California buddy Chris Aldane, ordering tackle and hooks and stuff. So, you got to be well-rounded to be a bass angler, to fish national tournaments, but you also have to have good buddies to fill in the valleys between the hills when you're getting stuff that you don't know what you're talking about. So.
Yeah.
True stories.
Shout out to shout out to Chris Zaldane, Chris and Trade, if you're listening right now. Brian DeCarpenter, what's the best way to show this to Cliff? I want to show this to him. Can you grab it?
Right there.
Can you see this? Hold on a second.
We
can
hardly
I move
see
off
it.
this chair?
I got you, dude. I
Here,
got you.
show that to him.
Petite.
All right, I want to show you a lure, Cliff. This came out of a flea market. Can you see this thing?
I did.
Okay, gold, black back. Now turn it around. Dude, this is an original. You see how old this packaging is? This is a Smithwick Lure Company out of Shreveport, Louisiana. This is pre-Pradco floating gold black back Rogue. What you know about that bait, Cliff?
That is, dude, that's going back to the Ike Live show we did. That bait right there. Can I have that one?
That's a good one, right? Pre-Pradco.
Yeah, dude, that floating roll, it's known as the Rogue bait around my house, man. That's good anywhere from once that water gets cold, it's probably good all throughout the year, but we throw that thing big time from like December to March.
December.
That's a good bait, dude. That's a good one. That is a good one.
I saw that one and I thought of you, man. When I saw that color, I saw that it was a floating model. I saw it was old. I was like, ooh, I got to show that to Cliff. I know he'd love that thing.
I have another trivia question.
Oh, another one.
All right, Rich, you got the answer for this one? Cliff,
Yes.
you're not allowed to guess.
All right, Cliff, you can't guess this one because you can't win again.
Okay. Question number 2. This comes from Ken Duke, the mighty, mighty keeper of the scrolls, Ken Duke.
Oh, yeah.
Who are the only nation anglers to lead the Classic at the end of any competition day? There are 2 nation anglers that have led the Classic at the end of a competition day.
I know him.
Beat it. Beat it, Cliff.
Beat it, Cliff.
Y'all want it?
2?
2.
There's 2.
I know him.
You know one.
I know. I've never met one, and I know the other one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Brian Kershaw.
No, wait.
Shut the hell up.
No, wait. Don't say the other one. Don't say it, Cliff. I know you know it because I know who it is.
Now you don't
too.
get that rogue.
I know who it is, too. Don't say it. All right. So we got half the answer. People are paying attention and
I
watching.
want to give a hint.
No. You did give a hint. You said you know him.
Yeah. You said one.
Said it. That's a hell of a hit.
You know what? I'm way impressed by your Bassmaster's IQ.
Cliff's hardcore.
I am
man.
as well.
He's hardcore.
Dude, y'all talk about Ken Duke. I have spent hours, and I apologize to Ken. I hadn't talked to him in a minute, but me and Ken Duke have spent hours and hours and hours talking about fishing facts and bass facts and tournament facts and stuff that is irrelevant to everybody but bass nerds. And from 1995 until present, I've kind of backed off a little bit now because life happened and kids and stuff. But dude, I wasted my daddy's hard-earned money at a private school, going to high school, reading magazines, Louisiana Sportsman and Bassmaster and FLW, just to find irrelevant fishing facts about tournaments.
It's awesome.
I am definitely a bass nerd.
It's awesome. I love that you're a bass nerd from that era. You know, like that to me, we talked about it with Ed. You heard Ed Callan and the crew talking about it. Dude, the 80s, the 90s, dude, that was the golden era of bass fishing, you know? And I was just as hardcore Like I was just like you, man. I remember reading it, consuming it. But then you get to this point where it's like it's all kind of like I don't know anything now. You know, like I saw my uncle today, social distancing with my uncle for Mother's Day.
Uncle Don.
And dude, he'll tell me stuff. Oh, hey man, did you watch that MLF episode where so and so was tweaking his Greg Vincent was tweaking his a whopper plopper, putting that hook on the back of it. I'm like, no. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, I didn't see that. Tell me about it. You know what I mean? And it's like I feel like that. It's the same with a lot of people. It's like as you get older and as you get more involved in stuff, you sort of lose that.
Hey, let me jump in. I love how I jump in. Anyway, excuse me or don't excuse me, whatever. I'm talking about Ed Cowan and Federation and how things were when you was coming up. Let me give a shout out to Rodney Wagley.
Oh,
Baton Rouge, Michael Nosen, Rodney Wagley, Jamie Les. Those dudes made the classic through the Federation, Louisiana Anglers, Jamie Les, David Cavett. That whole crew is legit. Caleb Summerall. But back in the day, dude, it was Rodney Wagley. I thought Rodney Wagley hung the moon. It was awesome.
Rodney Wagley.
Bobby Tuso wasn't a Federation hand, but anyway, Rodney and that Shreveport in the Nationals. I still got a card around my house somewhere that Rodney signed from me when I was a teenager. I remember that. That was good times. That was cool to watch.
Yeah.
Bob Cobb. Can Bob Cobb say your name correctly now, Mike, or does he still add to it a little bit?
No, he says my name a little bit. He was at the Classic this year. He said my name right. But Bob Cobb. Bob Cobb. Did you know the story about how Bob Cobb is very pissed off at Russ Lane? Did you ever hear that?
I did not.
Dude, one of the original, and Brian, we'll have to pull the archive.
I might have that audio somewhere.
One of the original Ike Live shows, we cornered Bob Cobb. We somehow got his number. And this was like
summoned. We summoned.
Yeah, this was like before Brian, because Brian's he's a shitty producer now, but he was really bad back then.
The worst.
And he couldn't do a Skype or anything like that. So we had him on the phone. This is like year 1 or 2 of Ike Live.
It's like show 1 or 2.
Yeah, and we only did phone calls. So we found his number, and we didn't like prep him or anything, Cliff. You know what I mean? We just called him out of the wind.
I don't know how that feels.
Oh yeah, we ambushed him like we did with the Cast King logo on you. And dude, it was the funniest thing because we had him live, and he was intoxicated when we called him. So then we started throwing all this stuff at him, and it was this whole thing. It was so funny. It was this whole thing like we had said like Russ, and this was all just a joke. We were like, Bob, yeah, Russ Lane said something bad about you, and plus he was intoxicated. You know what I mean? So Bob Lane was like, that Russ Lane's a pussy. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. I mean, he was using curse words.
I thought that was Mark Jeffries.
No, that was Bob Cobb.
Bob Cobb.
No, that was Bob Cobb.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Dude.
I know. We got to find that. That's great.
Because Mark Jeffries can do a gnarly Bob Cobb.
Mark Jeffries can?
Don't ruin a good story with the truth, Dave.
All right, sorry.
Dave, I'm with you. I always thought that was Mark Jeffries' impression. About Russ Lane.
It was Pete. It was.
The stream's about to cut.
All right, stream's gonna cut. All right, Riz, I think we have a winner to the trivia question. Cliff's been holding his tongue the whole time. Riz, give us the winner and what's the answer to this trivia question?
We do. It was White Van IPA was the winner, and the winners were Kershaw, who has already been mentioned by our beloved Cliff, and Gary Juice.
And who?
Oh, that's right.
Who?
Gary Eustace.
Oh, yeah.
I might not be saying his name right.
Eustace.
I just said it right. Gary Eustace.
Is it Eustace or Eusta?
He is not a bass nerd. Did he just call the dude Jerry Juicer?
Juicer.
Come on, man. Jerry Juicer. Byway Federation. Come on, dude.
Yeah, South Africa in the house.
Yep.
Jamie Joss is the lead singer of Hatebreed.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Jimmy Josta.
Wow.
Congratulations.
When did
Congratulations.
What'd they win, Rich?
The classic. What classic was that he led for a day?
That was in 97.
97.
Logan Martin?
Spinnerbait on Rip Rap.
Oh, spinnerbait on Rip Rap. Yeah.
Damn, Cliff.
That makes sense.
Couple things to announce.
Yeah, couple things. What do we got?
Facebook like and share.
We will be, me, Dave, and Mike will be on the Fear Fishing podcast tomorrow night.
Oh, Fear Fishing podcast.
Just wanted to announce that. Dave, you remember that?
Dave's going to be hungover tomorrow. He's been drinking so much whiskey tonight.
Nah, I got an early start tomorrow. I'll be on the Fear. I like Ian. I'll be on his podcast.
All right, we're going to do it.
What else you got there,
Wait,
Brian?
you gonna be like I'm the late guy? Like I'm the guy that don't show up? Come on, man.
We also have a Facebook like and share winner.
We do?
Tonight. Yes.
Our winner for Facebook like and share, 20 pounds.
Kenneth Sears. Congratulations,
Kenneth
Sears. If you're still watching.
Kenneth, congratulations, Kenneth.
You
I'll be
win a
reaching
pack
out
of
to you.
Pampers from Cliff Crochet.
Yes. Used Pampers.
Yeah, the people on the message board want to know, Cliff, have you sought out a Pampers sponsorship?
I would.
Forward?
No, I need to.
Yeah.
With all the daggers I'm about to use, I might wear them when I fish. Because I'm about to buy a double.
Hey, Cliff, what do you think about getting like a shelf sponsorship?
Who?
Shelves? Like a shelf?
Shelving company?
Maybe like a crate. Maybe some crates. Milk crates or something.
Hey, says the dude that quit trying, was too scared to go, came up with every excuse.
The guy that went broke is going to tell you to get a few crates and maybe an egg box.
It's all good. It's all good.
Number love,
but
Cliff.
if anybody is concerned about the Pampers that I have or don't have, contact me through social media. I'll give you an address, and I can take part in this thing called twins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
Cliff, did you figure out what's causing it?
Yeah. That's what happens when you don't make cuts in fishing and you come home early. There you go. I catch more. I will be catching more fish now and killing more deer and chasing more ducks and stuff because gotta find me a new hobby, son. Getting expensive.
Coming home early and taking out frustrations.
Frustrations.
Cliff got that virulent mayonnaise, man. He better keep that stuff.
Ed's radar says that Dave, you should get sponsored by Depends because of your shitty attitude.
That's all right, Ed's radar. Yeah, whatever. I'll arm wrestle you right now.
I love it. All right, Cliff, first of all, I want to say thank you for coming on the show again. It's great catching up with you and finding out what you and the crew have been up to, and can't wait. We've got what have we got? About 3 weeks, Cliff? Little more, 3 or 4 weeks to go, and we'll be back on the road.
Yeah, I think we start the first day of the practice is the 6th, or the first day of the tournament is the 6th. It's getting close enough where we got to start making a schedule to leave. So
yes.
it's getting here quick.
Yes. Well, I'm excited. Can't wait to see you down there. Get the season started again. And again, congratulations on the new babies. It's awesome, man. Happy they're home. It's a crazy time to have them home. It's got to be great for you. So we're stoked for you, and appreciate you coming on, fill us in. What's been happening with you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I wish I got invited more often. When I do Bass University, Pete knows this. At the end of every seminar I do, I announce that I've re-signed with Bass University for another 2-year contract. Sometimes it's true, it's not true. But maybe I might invite myself monthly to come on the Ike Live show. Who knows?
I think you should.
Invite myself.
Yeah.
I think you should.
Yeah, sign with us. Pat in the text message says you gave a lot of stray cast type answers tonight. So.
Well, so Mike, let me ask you this. Thanks for having me. How long have we been on?
No love to Pat.
Yeah. I don't love that. Yeah. How long have we been on, and how long does it feel like? That's the question.
Dude, we've been on a lot longer actually than we had Ed on, and it didn't feel like all that time passed. It's almost 11:30, Brian DeCarpenter.
Yeah, show tonight 8 to 10.
Yeah, the 8 to 10 show listing, and here we are at 11:30, still going. And again, Cliff, I'll say it to you: the true measure of a good interview is when it goes long and it doesn't feel long.
That's right.
That's the true measure of a good interview. And this was a good interview.
3.5 hours.
There you go.
3.5 hours.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I mean, you can look at it this way, Cliff. Like when we had Ed on, it was like listening to Alec Baldwin narrate like a Encyclopedia Britannica.
Fucking Ed was awesome. Knock it off.
That's why everyone's laughing, Brian. Knock it off. Yeah.
Me and Cowan got to talking. We talked for days. He got some good stories. He talked more than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great having you on.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You're a treat.
Cliff, we appreciate you coming on. Do me a favor. Will you please tell Sarah, tell the family, tell your mom and dad we said hello, and we will definitely see you in Orlando in less than a month.
Thanks for having me, and I'll pass on the message. I appreciate y'all having me. It's always a good time, Michael. Always a good time.
I appreciate it. Have a good one. Cliff Crochet, everybody. Cajun Baby. The real Cajun Baby.
Easy, Cliff.
Mama
the real
said.
one.
Have a good one.
That's the real Cajun Baby.
Mama said.
That's the real one. Man, the show did go long. I'm excited. I'm stoked, and I'm tired. But we do have two last obligations. Listen, if you're watching right now, hang in there with us. We're going to be off just a couple more minutes. Brian DeCarpenter, we're going to do an MTB unboxing. Before we do that, we do have a TH Marine product of the night. We want to highlight that real quick. Riz, I want you to jump in on this too. Brian DeCarpenter, the TH Marine product of the night.
I got you, dude.
Is hold on.
Does TH Marine have a prop shaft protector?
I don't know. Riz needs it. Okay, here it goes.
Hell, man.
Right here. Brian, give me a
Middle
full
of the
screen
back
on this.
channel.
Give me a full screen so I can show everybody.
Dead center.
Now look at this. I want you to look at this.
What is it?
This looks like it could be some S&M stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's proven.
This is the Z cord. Is it Z launch or Z cord?
Yeah.
Look at that. By TH Marine. This thing is actually the deal. Brian DeCarpenter, jump in because I know you use this a lot. If you've got a bass boat, a kayak. I was talking to our homie Charles. Uses this for his kayak.
Charles.
Brian DeCarpenter uses it for the Ike Live boat build.
He does use it for the.
He does use it for his kayak.
Because let's be honest, kayak guys can tend to tie up a ramp.
They can tie up a ramp.
A little disproportionately.
Yeah, but talk to me a little bit about this cord, this Z launch cord.
Yeah, but no one ties up a ramp like Puerto Ricans on jet skis, man. Those guys will murder a ramp, dude. Nothing racist about that. They tie up a ramp. I mean,
Why is it ethnic?
So
here we go. What
so
do we got?
the Z launch cord.
God.
Hold on a second. Let me fix this.
Let me fix this. Here. What do we got here?
So it's a bungee cord, clearly. And if you've ever had to go launch your boat by yourself, you know how much of a pain in the ass that is. Dude, it's a piece of cake. Pull up to the ramp, hook that joint on there, unstrap your boat, back in, floor it, slam on the brakes, launch the boat.
The boat goes off.
That's right.
It's attached to the boat. The cord stretches. It has a little bit of a flex, a bounce back.
That's right.
As you pull up.
And then you just walk it up.
Dude,
good to go.
It's genius. This is very, very typical of a lot of the TH products. Makes a ton of sense. Again, I say it every intro. If you've got a kayak to a Biggie Small Shot, dude, you could use this. So please check that out.
Yeah, I love it. I use it all the time.
Great product. And then, of course, finally, Mystery Tackle Box. We've got another brand new Pro box here tonight, and this is the best part of this box. Listen, this is the best part. You ready? Listen to this. There it goes. Broke the seal. Brian the Carpenter heard that.
I heard it.
Love breaking the seal, and we're going to do a little bit of an unboxing. I don't know if the guys virtually have their boxes or not, but I'm going to pass one to Brian, and let's see here. Oh, dude, a lot of cool stuff. Oh, I see it. Oh, wow. Look at that thing.
Let's see what you get.
You know what? I'm going to put that on top because I want you to talk about that one, sort of, and I'm going to pick this one. Brian, I'll pass this box to you. I went and picked out a soft plastic. And I usually don't go for soft plastics in my MTB, but I saw something that caught my eye. This is by a Buddha Bait Company, okay? It's a speed worm, a.k.a. swim worm. And the reason I went to this, Pete, this is one of the baits that helped me win the Classic. It's a paddle tail style worm.
Yes.
And look at this one. Pete, the tail is actually connected, but it's got a break point. So you could fish it with the entire paddle on the tail, or you could break it, and it has a little like perforation there, and then you pull that tail away, and it makes a little cut tail, a little cut in that paddle. I like this worm. I'm headed to Florida in about 4 weeks. Speed worming, reeling a swim worm, reeling that worm straight in. It's a great technique. I like this bait.
Hell yeah.
Remember how we used to have to cut it with scissors?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yep. Yeah, they didn't make them, so you had to cut them. Yep.
Yeah.
Man, they stink. They smell like garlic.
Oh, yeah. Woo. So what I got? I picked a little jig. We got a little jig from D&L Tackle. Little finesse jig, dude. That looks outstanding.
Ooh, I saw that too.
Yeah. I was surprised you didn't grab it, but it's just a little.
Yep.
Little finesse.
Little compact.
It's got the thin skirt like a mini flip or a Bitsy Bug would have. It's got the thin strand skirt.
How's the hook on it? Pretty good. Little gaffy.
Dude, the hook is tight. Check that hook out.
Solid.
Yeah.
Stout hook. Oh yeah.
No, it's a really good
catch.
Hook.
Oh, bluegill colored skirt. Oh hell, that's nice.
Smell that thing. Does that smell?
Yeah.
Something smells.
It smells rubbery.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought it smelled garlic.
Yeah.
And what do you got, Pete? Nothing.
Pete, what do you got over there?
No, I'm in my box. I got something that like it's a soft plastic too, but it's huge, man. This is the Max Action Saw Crawl, but it's a big giant crawl that like would fit on something like a mop jig. You know, when you're looking for that post spawn big meal, that big giant bait, it's hard to find something. Like when I'm throwing something like a mop jig, it's got that big giant skirt. You can't find a bait, a trailer that goes like it gets bogged down by the skirt. Most trailers.
Yeah.
This one won't. It's huge, man.
Did you get the Marlin box?
How big is it, Pete? 6 inches?
I can't get into it. I'm trying to figure out how to get into the package. There it is.
It's like a lobster.
It's got to be 4 or 5 inches.
Oh yeah, it's a good sized crawl.
Yeah, it's a big bait, man.
Yeah, you're looking optimistic there, Pete.
Wow.
Your big eye and your inches.
Hey,
Giant.
You may think so, but most trailers are this length, you know.
Big eye and them inches, Pete.
Long. It's big bait. I like it.
So we got this, finishes out this box with a couple cool soft plastics from X Zone, a beaver style
X Zone, they're great.
Brandon Palmer.
X Zone is X Zone. Which ones are they, Big? Which X Zone soft plastic?
They look like a beaver.
Show it to the camera. Hold it in front of the camera, can you?
It's a cool little beaver
it's not
bait.
too much to ask.
Yeah, it is, Rich. You just ain't saying it. Because of...
Unreal.
Because of the camera issues.
X Zone, dude, they're awesome, man. The claws on X Zone baits, they float.
Oh, yeah?
I love them on the back of my jigs.
And then there's a pack of Riot baits in here, little soft plastics. Riot makes some good stuff. Yeah. Looks like a little pack of crawl.
Dave, what do you have in your box?
Yeah, now you guys stopped sending me a box like 3 years ago, so I don't even know. I got no box. You didn't send me nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Time to cut the fat.
Yeah,
Cut the fat.
Trim the
Cut me
fat.
right out, you bastard.
There's also a hard bait, a topwater bait.
Yeah, it's a jitterbug with a wobble mouth on it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. It's a topwater yellow perch.
Dave, Ed's radar said if you got a mystery tackle box, the only thing that would come in it would be negativity.
Half negativity, half truth. Radar Riley, all right?
Life's hard.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. It's too funny.
You have listen. Most cynics have lived life, okay? And I've lived life. That's why I'm a cynic.
It's been a good one, Dave.
We love you, man.
I appreciate your efforts tonight, putting it out there.
Yeah.
No efforts. I mean, it's the truth, man. I don't care.
Yeah, you
Don't apologize
definitely.
for
There
that.
were some key laughs tonight, Dave, and I do appreciate that. There were a couple I had to compose myself. Brian had to. He goes off of me when he sees me losing it. So
I have to take the camera off,
Yeah.
so we can laugh it out.
So throughout the show, you'll notice that anytime you say something really funny, I just go away.
I thought, listen, you made my year when I laid you out on the parking lot with that one joke.
Oh my God,
last
dude,
time.
that was unbelievable.
You laid down on the parking lot.
Dude,
The last time that happened, but Mike, the last time that happened, I laid you and Brian both out on my street when we went to John's bachelor party and I had the picture of him holding his wife and the baby.
The baby G. Oh my God!
I laid you and Brian both out right in the middle of my street.
Dude, weren't we on our way to Champlain or something? Oh yeah, it's bachelor
No,
party.
dude, I showed you guys right in my street. You got out your truck and you collapsed.
Yeah, I remember
You
that.
got shot by a sniper.
We were on our way to
And then we put it over top the fire mantle. We didn't tell Tom and John and let them try to notice it throughout the week.
John was swaddling
He didn't
her.
notice it.
He was swaddling
Riz,
G.
this thing was like people put the giant pictures on their wall. I don't know what the size is, like 2x3. I got this thing gigantic, and we took whatever dumb picture of the person who was renting the house down. We took it off the mantle. We put that one on there.
Yeah, but
we waited until they noticed.
But Dave, the picture was John holding one of my sons when he was an infant. And
He's holding my son David as an infant.
Oh, okay,
with a
your
weird
kid.
face.
And we
His head-
photoshopped G, his wife's head on there, because G's really small and John's really tall.
He was swaddling G.
Oh,
But our buddy John's head was unusually turned, like his chin was almost near his chicken bone in the back, like his chicken wing. He was way far behind. Like it was this really bizarre picture that a normal man can't do with his neck.
Yeah.
And he's holding a baby.
It was freaking amazing.
Yeah. Sorry.
So upcoming this week, me, Mike, and Dave are going to be on the Fear Fishing podcast tomorrow night. Wednesday night, I know our buddy Straycast is going live, and I know he's got two guests. One of them is Matt Robertson.
Let me guess, he's got Christine Fisher on.
Motherfucker does. He's done. I'll shoot him
again.
He's got on him Matt Robertson. Dude's awesome.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Pat will have a great time with him. Thursday night, Bass Ute Live. We're coming back. Right, Pete?
Nice.
Hopefully. We still got to run it past Becky. Shit, knock on wood.
That's all right. There you have it. Thursday night, be
Thursday
live.
night. And then Ike Live is coming back next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
We
Yes.
have
Really?
Yes.
He's such a And we have Christine Fisher, who's a kayak angler. She's freaking awesome, and she's got a great story about a little bit of an accident she had this week. But we had planned on having her on actually tonight, but it just didn't work out. And Robert Field, another YouTube guy and a kayak fisherman who just recorded the world record black marlin caught out of a kayak.
Wow.
So
Can't wait to hear about that. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Also, real quick update on the Ike Foundation event on the Upper Chesapeake Bay. Riz, you ready for this?
Yeah, boy.
So far, so good. Looks like it's a go. So everybody that's watching that's up here in the Northeast, looks like we're a go for that date in June on the Upper Chesapeake Bay. So that should be a good tournament. Great time of the year to be on the bay for sure.
Anybody listening? I need a boat to get in for that event.
Are we gonna mention the change? There's a little change in the format for that, Mike. Or do you want to go into that? Or
let's do it next show.
Okay.
We'll do it next show. We'll go over some of the details because I don't even know them, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to try to get Ian from Canada to come down for this event so I can fish with him. But if not, if people listening, I need somebody to get in a boat with.
Are they letting Canadians over here?
Hey, we'll get them through.
No, I mean, with everything going on, with the events kicking back up, the Canadians going to be able to get over.
Hey, Brian, if I forget tomorrow night,
it's gambling. Don't let them across the border.
Let's mention to Ian how me and you snuck into Canada that time. We crossed the border illegally.
Yeah.
Remember that time?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that in case I forget.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's completely make them uncomfortable.
Hey? All right, there you have it. Want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening and watching tonight. Of course, I want to thank all the amazing crew here. Brian the Carpenter, thank you very much for producing. Riz on the IMs tonight. The Dean, Pete Glusick, and Dave Brodzik for bringing all that amazing negativity tonight. Definitely appreciate that. Want to thank our two guests, Mr. Ed Cowan.
Yes.
Probably the best fisherman ever to walk the face of the Northeast. And also Cliff Crochet, the one and only Cajun Baby. Thank you guys for coming on.
He's almost at a limit.
Yeah. Hey, Ed Cowan needs to have a moniker called like Ed Cowan, the only guy that could put sleep to sleep. I'm just kidding. Sorry, Ed.
Ed was good, man. Ed Cowan.
Riz. Stop carrying the water.
Yo, James Riley now has two logos to work on. Now.
I'm talking like it is, man. Ed Cowan's a bass fishing OG.
He is an OG.
I've actually never, this was my first real experience, really, sitting down and listening to Ed talk, or I've seen him in passing at tournaments and all, but this was my first really encounter with it, man. That dude's got some stuff up here that most people could only wish to acquire.
Don't worry, Dave can find an angle on it.
No, listen.
Well said, Riz. Well said.
No, the guy's the Merlin of the Federation of New Jersey. How's that? All right.
Oh, natural.
Got it already.
Oh, natural.
He didn't talk about his penis enough to see Dave.
Didn't even won me over immediately. All right.
All right, there you have it, guys. Thank you for watching tonight. Once again, we got 30 minutes left. Wish you a happy Mother's Day. Enjoy the last 30 minutes of today. And we will see you next Sunday. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Hell yeah.
Good night, Clive. Good night.
All right. Goodbye.
We're going chest to chest in the Dr. Squatch lather test. On that half of Mike's impressive chest, we're rubbing him down with 3 name brand bars. The result? A sad, milky film of disappointment. How's that feel, Mike? You see, Big Soap cuts corners and strips out all the sudsy goodness in order to make production cheaper. But not Dr. Squatch. Don't worry, Mike. Dr. Squatch soap retains all the natural ingredients, which creates a rich, foamy lather, leaving your skin healthy, soft, and clean. Ooh, looks like Squatch is taking over this peck party. How do you feel now, Mike? Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. When we say it lathers, it f***ing lathers. You deserve glorious lather. Take the lather challenge for yourself today.
4.5-inch drop shot worm, Bama bug. Finesse jig, PB&J, give me something hard. Hey, KVD here. Now, I didn't always know this much about fishing. 4-aught EWG worm hook. In fact, there was a time when I couldn't tell the difference between a jerkbait and a stickbait. But then I signed up for Mystery Tackle Box, the original monthly tackle subscription. And now I know more about fishing than I do about calculus.
And he knows a lot about calculus.
Plus, I get amazing extras like free fishing magazines. October 2016. Featured article, 4 places to throw a frog. Exclusive decals. zombie bass, and how-to videos for all the great baits I receive. How to tune a crankbait. Is that underwater footage I smell?
I got goosebumps.
So if you're looking to develop enhanced fishing abilities like me, or you just like getting new tackle every month, go to mysterytacklebox.com and get your box today. Ooh, live minnows. Is it lunchtime already? Nature's candy. Oh. Is he in my pocket?
This time of year, I definitely recommend putting a little bit of this on your soft plastics too. There he is. Another one. Next cast. And that would be number 6. I'm addicted. I'll admit it. I'm straight addicted.
This might be bigger.
You think so?
Yeah. Feels bigger. I haven't even seen this thing yet. It doesn't want to come up. Don't break me off the rocks.
Oh, it's a... Oh!
27 incher.
He caught it.
28.
Oh my god, that's such a healthy fish. Look at this size. Put a little liquid mayhem on your crappie jig, and look where the stripers get it. You can't even see it, man. That might be a keeper.